X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who spit facts online all the time. Can you see it? All the ones who drag my name every single day. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? They keep saying you don't have what it takes to carve out your own name underneath the shadows of gods. And I keep waiting for the day disbelievers say I flew way too close to the sun. I wait, but it never really comes. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. Why do they just stand there against when they fall from the battles I have overcome? You feel it, feel the cope and the seething tone that they make while I stand up, man among gods. And I keep vaping with my mill, shooting ropes in my cold that faces towards the sun. They hate, but I'm sitting comfy with their mom. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A spell that attracts all who speak facts online all the time. The X in my name is not just a symbol or a target sign. A force that compels all to rebel from all right shackled minds. It's you and me, your mom, it's me. I'll take another hit from my name. You see now, watch me right now, punch your things now. Show you how.
Good afternoon, or I guess morning. God, I'm so used to doing these afternoon streams, I'm not used to saying good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see all of you. Hey, Apillo. Hey, Prancing Goldfish. Shoten LLC. Ollie with AB. Ratty Ratera. Dre Laroon. Trans Daughter of Water. Salty Shay. I already said your name. Wait, did I say your name? I think I did. Luke Breadstorm. Good to see you. Infex. How are you? Midnight Kitty Boy. Good to see you as well. Dan Share. What's up? The Lancer. How are you? So good to see all of you. Welcome. 85 people watching already. The X in Twitter stands for Xanderhall. Can we just talk about how much better designed my X logo is than Elon's for Twitter? Like, the X that Elon Musk did is so bland and, like, uninspired. Mine looks like a ninja star. Like, it's an X, but it's also another thing, right? Elon legit just ripped it from a font. Yeah, it's not even like an original. It's from a font. It's like there are fonts on like Word that you can use that X. You can go to fonts.com where they have like the giant library of fonts and find several fonts that have that exact X. There are several brand logos I've seen that use that exact X literally in their branding. So he can't even copyright. He's literally like, it's at a point where he's actually just brain damaged, or he's purposefully trying to nosedive Twitter. which makes no sense, so I think he might just actually be brain damaged. I think when he was a baby, his dad might have dropped him inside of an emerald mine, and he might have landed on the soft spot. Shu went full grifter, going from Barbie is woke to Barbie is anti-woke. I don't know if she was ever on the Barbie is woke train, but Shuonhead's always been generally smarter about culture war shit than conservatives. Over time, there's a reason why she's still around and relevant. So it wouldn't surprise me if from the start she knew that Barbie was going to succeed and was just like, I'm not getting on the hate train for this movie. It's just not going to work. It's going to end up looking terrible. And that's why I imagine she made her Barbie is anti-woke video. Because there's just no winning if you try to stake your side of the culture war against this, like, blockbuster movie. And she knows that. Like, Shuonhead is a lot smarter than she wants you to believe she is. That's why she says, oh, I'm such a dumb bimbo all the time. It's to disarm you. She's gotten where she is on YouTube. That takes a certain level of intelligence. I just failed the CAPTCHA thrice. Dude, CAPTCHAs are downright evil. I really do hate CAPTCHA tests. My mom just said she didn't know she couldn't identify a motorcycle until CAPTCHA tests started to become common. It's true, because, like, there'll be, like, 3 pixels of a tire of the motorcycle in one of the tiles, and it's like, do I select that tile when it's, like, 3 pixels of the motorcycle's tire? The answer is I still don't know. I've been doing these CAPTCHAs for literally, like, a decade now, and I still don't know. Apparently, it just tests it based on how your mouse moves. Wait, really? That's crazy. 4 fucking pixels. I have a link for you to roast. Let's check this out.
Have clicked on this video, ready to fight.
How birth control destroyed a generation of women. Oh, yeah, we'll be covering this. We'll be covering Sydney Twatson. Thank you. I appreciate that link, Delancer. That was a good one. I almost want to give you, like, a, I don't know, like a fucking contributor, like, role. A little badge next to your name. Because you just contributed. The only thing getting destroyed are those cervixes. Raw? True. Just like Scott Pilgrim destroyed an entire generation of women as well. Yeah, that one, incel song. No problem, Delancer. Oh, for those that don't know, if you see, like, smoke kind of billowing around my room, it's not because there's a fire or anything. My computer is not spontaneously combusted. I'm just burning some incense over there. I become an incense white boy, okay? I like the smell of the burning sticks. I've got the green tea scented one, and I really like it. So every once in a while, I light that thing up, and I just let it smoke up the room, and it smells really nice. As long as you have it away from you. Yeah, my computer trying to run Minecraft RTX. Guys, where's that smoke coming from? Oh yeah, I literally have my stand for the incense. It's an empty bullet casing. Yeah, I switched from the 5.56 casing to a 9mm casing because it doesn't choke out the flame as quickly, you know? More of the stick is able to burn because it's, like, wider and fatter. We can raid Vosh after stream, and then he'll be contractually obliged to raid me in my next stream. Good thinking, trans daughter of water. Zan is an incense cell? Yeah, I'm an incel. Well, let's just go with it. I'm just an incel, because I burn the incense. Alrighty. By the way, if you're watching right now and you like the stream, as in you enjoy it, you should consider liking the stream, as in hitting the thumbs up button next to the sub button and the other things like the title for the video. It really does help out a lot. Liking streams, videos, and all that stuff, subscribing. It really goes a long way, and it's totally free and takes half a second, and it pushes my content further in the algorithm, and, you know, it helps my channel be gauged as successful more so. So I appreciate it to all of you who do that. And of course, if you want to go the extra mile and support me a little directly, you can always sub, gift a sub, donate, all that good stuff on my website and whatnot. Oh, I forgot to mention to you guys. Ooh, I forgot to mention to you guys. This is funny. Yesterday, I got a message from the lady who has been schizophrenically messaging me over and over again and threatening legal action against me for talking about allegations she got for rape. She sent me this document that's a attempt, I think, at a temporary restraining order against me in the state of California. The reason why I say, like, attempted is because I don't think it's legit, considering, like, a lot of the info on the documentation that I was sent was just not correct. Like, I don't know how you can... Yeah, and I haven't been served anything, so what'll probably happen is if she's actually doing this and it's not just more intimidation tactics, like she can just print out, like, a document off of the internet, is, I'll just go ahead and I'll send in, like, screenshots of, you know, I'll look at the order, right? Because basically the way these work is someone just fills out a piece of paper and submits it to a judge, trying to request that a certain person cannot do a list of things. My assumption is she's going to try to make it so I can't talk about her, is what she's trying to do. That is my assumption, which is interesting because I didn't really intend to talk about her anymore unless she plans to pursue legal action. So I assume she's doing this to try to get me to take down my past videos. But that doesn't change the fact Keffels has done everything. It's just like, yeah, there's nowhere that this is going. Anyway, basically, I'll just send in my response and I'll include towards the judge, because the judge sees everything before it ever goes to court or anything like that. So I'll just send in, like, screenshots of her repeatedly messaging me over and over again in a harassing manner on a number of platforms, including after she's claimed to have submitted this restraining order. And I'll just be like, listen, I don't care to contest the restraining order because I'm not going anywhere near her or have any interest in talking to her or anything. She's the one who keeps talking to me. However, you know, yeah, basically, it's pretty easy to get these false restraining orders shot down. Zan, be careful. Repsion's ex got a false restraining order against him, and it went through without him knowing. She might try and do that to you. Yeah, they can try, but, like, I'm already aware of it, so it's like... yeah, I just get served the papers, and it doesn't apply until then. Anyway, regardless, though, if it's just like a don't talk to me order, I'm just gonna ignore it, because who the fuck cares? But she hasn't tried to sue me, so I don't know... yeah, anyway. Regardless, though, I didn't really intend to talk about her any further outside of, like, covering potential criminal, like, proceedings that might go against her or something like that for her issues she seems to have. But, outside of that, like, I didn't really intend to talk about her outside of even mentioning her briefly on stream. She just kind of kept on, like, messaging me and making this happen after, like, a literal nothing mention of her on my stream that lasted 10 seconds and was prompted by a chatter. So it's all very, very weird. Anyway, I've gathered screenshots of everything, and I'll of course be including it. I've already got a lawyer to talk to and all that stuff, so shouldn't be a big deal. But if you guys want to help with any potential legal funds that are going to go into that, it's always appreciated. Feel free to donate. So much of her life appears to be an illusion? Yeah. Oh, she's also, once again, representing herself, no lawyer. In the thing she sent, she just filled out her own name, in the, like, who's representing her section. It's pretty funny. Keffels will be covering this much more in detail soon, because I want to make sure I have the strongest case possible. I'm not going to continue to talk about this, but Keffels will be able to cover it. So. And because you need money and a lawyer to do what she's trying to do to me, to do it to somebody outside of America, she won't do it to Keffels because, like, you would need money to try to hit Keffels with one of these things from America, but it's free to do to someone else who's in America. She knows she has no case. Well, I don't care about a temporary restraining order. Like, I have no interest in speaking to her. She's the one that keeps messaging me. Like, I'm actively getting, like, borderline stalked by this lady. She's, like, watching over my streams and shit, and she's requesting a restraining order. Did you see Blank try to defend her catfishing people on Twitter? Yeah. Yeah, I saw. I'm not gonna say her name, though, because I'm sure she'll try to, like, clip that to make it seem like I'm violating something, because I don't know what she asked for in the order, so, yeah. I always represent myself in court. All you gotta do is just walk up and say, no, you, and you're good. That is true. That is all it takes. You say it to the judge as well. Not to the person who's accusing you. You say it to the judge. No, you. It's true. That's how you win. Every time. No. Chat, I got Baldur's Gate 3. The fuckboy vampire will be mine by this time tomorrow. Dude, all of my friends are playing Baldur's Gate 3. It's insane. I'm not going to be getting into the game, unfortunately. It just doesn't really seem like it's my cup of tea. My pot of boiling tea, I should say. Good luck, whatever it ends up entailing. She doesn't have a chance, really. It's just sad the way the legal system works that people can do shit like this. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of... Like abusers have done this for a very long time. She's just confirming her guilt to literally everybody online, which is where she has her entire social life and career. So it's like basically just career suicide by revealing to everybody that you're an abuser trying to silence anybody talking about it. It's like, yeah. Say your mom got small pee-pee and win any case. True. Just bring up those screenshots. You guys know the ones from the Keffels video. That'd be funny. Anyway. You guys ready for topics? You guys ready for actual segment topics? Are you guys ready for us to talk about some shit? Who are you talking about? The crazy, well, people in chat can tell you. I'm not risking my legal defense by saying the name and getting myself in trouble. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be a thing, by the way, but I like to play it safe because, I mean, if I'm forced to do any actual legal action here, I'm gonna countersue. And, I know I have a good case, so... And no, I won't be countersuing for money. I don't care if she has no money. Anyway, let's get into our first segment. You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3. Not countersue, but sue her, I should say. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, action. All right, everybody. So, the Donald Trump indictments. That's with an S, by the way, because there are multiple indictments, several. And the newest of them has to do with Trump being charged with essentially being charged for the treason that he attempted in attempting to overturn the election of 2020 to keep himself in power. He is in deep shit right now, like deep shit. And we already covered, like, what's going on with Trump's arraignment and all of that stuff yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before yesterday, and there is more to cover today that we'll be getting to. But this story in particular, it's from 4 hours ago, at least it was when I found the segment, which is a few hours ago. Anyway, this is from The Independent, and I just goddamn knew we had to talk about this. Rudy Giuliani goes on unhinged rant claiming Mike Pence's wife leads him around on a leash. I would see... I can't do an impression of... I guess I do, like, a really, like, mumbly, like, phlegmy New York accent. I would see him. No, hold on. I would see him with his wife, having something around his neck every night. Giuliani says of Pence. Okay, so for those of you guys that don't know, hold on. I should just try to do, like, okay, here's the tip to doing, like, a Rudy Giuliani impression. I just have to talk with, like, the thick New England shoe-on-head accent, but as if I had, throat cancer. Rudy Giuliani claimed that Mike Pence is being led around on a leash by his wife during a mad rant sparked by the former president's comments on Donald Trump's latest indictment. I feel like that is... Tell me that's not pretty close. That's pretty close. Dead ass. That's the key, alright? That's how you do an impression of a character, right? You find something else that you can do that's close, and then you modify that, right? I'd say I was pretty close to being a Rudy Giuliani impression right there. Fuck you, I'm walking here. Yeah. Anyway, Rudy Giuliani. Okay, so hold on. I feel like I should give a little background to this because many of you are no doubt confused. Because Mike Pence and Donald Trump were running mates in 2016, and Mike Pence was Donald Trump's vice president. So why is it that Rudy Giuliani, a pretty good ally of Trump, and Trump himself, why are they turning on Mike Pence? Well, because Mike Pence is assisting in the charges against Trump. You see, when Donald Trump lost the election and he attempted to overturn it to hold power, Mike Pence wasn't really on board 100%. He was not as willing to overturn the long-standing, democratic process of this country in such a way as Donald Trump was in order for him to keep power. And so because Mike Pence refused to help Donald Trump in overturning the election, Mike Pence quickly, both to Trump and his supporter base, became an enemy. It's why back, during the January 6th election, you had a lot of people chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." A lot of them wanted to murder Mike Pence for betraying Trump and not assisting in his ousting of Joe Biden from his, democratically elected position as president. So that is why they're all against Mike Pence now, because Mike Pence is slightly less of a fascist than Donald Trump. That is essentially the problem here. Rudy Giuliani claimed that Mike Pence is being led around on a leash by his wife during a mad rant sparked by the former vice president's comments on Donald Trump's latest indictment. Mr. Giuliani, Mr. Trump's former lawyer and allegedly one of the co-conspirators in that indictment, went after Mr. Pence on Newsmax after he slammed the former president's gaggle of crackpot lawyers for supporting his lies in connection to the 2020 election. The former New York mayor's rant came hours after Mr. Trump pleaded not guilty to 4 charges at an arraignment in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. In this third indictment this year, the second from special counsel Jack Smith, Mr. Trump has been charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Responding to that indictment on Wednesday, Mr. Pence repeated what he had been saying since the insurrection on January 6, 2021, that he had no right to attempt to overturn the Electoral College votes and send them back to the states. For my part, I want people to... Oh, hold on, really quick. For my part... God, I have to do the impression correctly. Wait, no, this is Pence speaking in this bit here. Hold on, we gotta do a Pence impression. For my part, I want people to know that I had no right to overturn the election, and that the president maintained that day, and frankly has said over and over again over the last 2.5 years, is completely false, Mr. Pence said. According to The Hill, it's contrary to what our Constitution and the laws of this country provide. So Mike Pence basically says, yeah, I didn't even have the power to overturn the election, so it's like... He literally couldn't have done anything. Like, even if he was to help Trump, he couldn't have done much, right?
You know, I'm a student of American history, and the first time I heard in early December somebody suggest that as vice president I might be able to decide which votes to reject and which to accept, I knew that it was false. I dismissed it out of hand, Mr. Pence added. Sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear.
I feel like that's pretty good. Here, let's hear Mike Pence speak.
Sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers.
Well, I was so on! I was so on! Dog! I didn't even remember what Mike Pence sounded like. I just assumed, alright, old white guy from this part of the country, and I nailed that shit! Holy fuck! I just tried to do old white man impression from, like... Yeah, from like the Midwest, and I just fucking hit it. I did it. Mr. Giuliani made his displeasure with the crackpot comment clear in his Thursday Newsmax appearance. I'm a real... Hold on, no. I almost did British. I'm a real trial lawyer, not make-believe, like a lot of these people. I once got a congressman to break down on the witness stand and confess, Mr. Giuliani told host Eric Balling. I don't know. I don't think he's been in a courtroom and he went to law school or even went to law school. Nobody even knows. Mr. Pence received his law degree from Indiana University, Robert H. McKinney School of Law in 1986, while Mr. Giuliani attended New York University. I thought before that he was a really good guy, but too weak to be president. I always worried about him following Trump, because I would see him with his wife having something around his neck every night, Mr. Giuliani said, referencing Mr. Pence's wife, Karen, and her name's Karen? Okay, maybe I believe him. And gesturing to the use of a leash and collar. She lets him go to the bathroom by himself, but that's about it, he added. But imagine that skunk doing what he did today. If he can't separate Trump from the First Amendment issue here, then you're just not a good person. This is not about Trump. If this were being done to my worst enemy, I would be fighting the case for them, he said. I feel like I'm doing a good impression. This comes after another bizarre rant on Mr. Bowling's program by Mr. Giuliani earlier this week, where he argued that Mr. Smith should be indicted for indicting Mr. Trump. Yes, indict him for indicting the criminal. The criminal we like and think should be immune to the law. And we literally nicknamed him Teflon Don because we think he should be immune to the law, and we see that as, like, a benefit to him. The people lynching are the people bringing this. They should be indicted for conspiracy against rights, he seethed on Tuesday night. That's Rudy Giuliani. The people lying are the people bringing this. They should be indicted for conspiracy against rights. What is conspiracy against rights? What? Is that, like, legal terminology I've never heard? That's, like, some high-up shit if so. Or he's just talking out of his ass. He is a lawyer. Maybe, I mean, I expect him to know legal terms. I don't know. So here's what I say to Jack Smith, he said. After the Supreme Court threw out your case, which would have been a disgrace, you should have gone and found another profession, because you don't belong in this one. This one will be your legacy, violating the rights of free speech of an American citizen. Never mind whether he was the president or not, he added. It could be anybody. It could be a homeless person. I keep going British. It could be a homeless person. You don't get to violate people's First Amendment rights. I'm going Australian now. Fuck. I can't keep up an Australian, a New York accent like this, dog. To violate people's First Amendment rights. I can't stop doing Australian now. I'm sorry. It's stuck that way. There's no getting me out of Australian now. We're gonna just have to read it normally. I ran out of voice impression juice. Zan, more throat cancer? Yeah, the throat cancer will get me there. Hold on. It could be anybody. It could be a homeless person. You don't get to violate
people's First Amendment rights. Smith, no matter who the hell you are, no matter how sick you are with Trump derangement syndrome.
Mr. Giuliani then brought up a copy of the indictment before slamming it down.
This is not the first time you've acted like an unethical lawyer, he said. It should be the last.
Mr. Giuliani's attorney, Robert Costello, told to the New York Times that it appears that Mayor Giuliani is alleged to be a co-conspirator, number one. Mr. Giuliani made other unsavory headlines this week over a sexual harassment lawsuit filed against him by a former assistant, Noel Dumphy. I mean, are we not, like, obviously, Rudy Giuliani is groping and sexually harassing, like, interns and shit. That's, like, the most Rudy Giuliani thing I could imagine. Noel Dumphy sued the Trump ally in a Manhattan court in May for $10 million for allegedly forcing her to perform sex acts and making racist, sexist, and remarks while working at his side between 2019 and 2021. In a new court filing this week, Ms. Dumphy's lawyers provided transcripts of tapes that allegedly lay out in graphic detail some of Mr. Giuliani's sexually explicit remarks. Ben Goodman, a political advisor to Mr. Giuliani, previously told The Independent that the 79-year-old political veteran, unequivocally denies the allegations in the lawsuit. God damn. So basically, Rudy Giuliani, possibly one of the most, like, the Trumpiest of Trumpsters, is, you know, kind of melting down and seething over the indictment, too. It's quite funny. You love to see it. Do you guys remember when he started melting on stage? Like his hair dye just started, like, dribbling down the side of his head, and he just started to melt. It looked like a demon was seeping out of him. Like the demon contained within the vessel that's pretending to be him was kind of like overflowing out of his pores or something. Yeah, the cheap ass fucking dye. If Giuliani is calling you unethical, you're probably doing something right. You're either doing something very right or very wrong, because, like, there's an extent, you know, to where it's like, you know, I think there's evil that even some Republicans out there would agree with the left on being evil. Do you remember when he had a conference at a landscaping company? Oh, yeah, there was that one, like, after Trump lost, and he was just out in, like, the back of a parking lot, like, behind a strip mall or something. Like, that was a weird one. I remember that, too. Four Seasons Total Landscaping? Was that the place? Oh, we got a new story from 13 minutes ago, guys. The judge who will preside over Trump's criminal 2020 election case is no stranger to January 6th litigation. Here's her. I don't know why, but I have a good feeling about the general political views of this judge not being biased in favor of Trump. I think Trump might have said or done some things that might have made this judge not too happy in the past. I think Trump might have done quite a few things to destroy any positive bias in his favor there might be with this judge. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, I think it's pronounced. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. It's Chutkan. Who's assigned to preside over former President Trump's criminal case in Washington, D.C., has reportedly spoken out in very strong terms against the efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election and disrupt the transfer of power. Yeah, she's a judge. She's literally had to spend her entire, like, adult life, like, learning law. Donald Trump, like, on so many levels, Donald Trump should be on this woman's shit list. The dude has no fucking respect for the rule of law, and she spent her entire adult life, like, learning. She's the judge who's going to preside over one of the most important cases in American history. So it's like, yeah, she probably doesn't appreciate that whole no fucks given for the process of American democracy thing that he's been demonstrating. Chut Khan, a Jamaica native, has served as a federal judge since she was appointed by Barack Obama in 2014. Oh yeah, definitely doesn't like Trump. Trump, who's literally been on the fucking accusing Obama of being an illegal immigrant shit and whatnot. Like, who remembers that? The, what was it called? The birther movement or whatever? When Trump and his fans were pushing the idea that Obama was, like, unironically an illegal immigrant or whatever. Like, that was a crazy time. That was a crazy time in the culture war. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the birthers. Yeah. You guys, like, hypers in chat if you don't remember that. If you just, like, weren't in politics at the time. Early on in Trump's run, a big part of his, like, jump up in popularity and his rise to power was basically pushing a conspiracy. Like, he wasn't the originator of it, but he like, pushed it. That, Obama wasn't an American citizen. And that he was, like, born in Kenya or something. I'm pretty sure he was born in, like, Hawaii or something like that, and then moved to Chicago. But, what do I know? Anyway. After graduating from University of Pennsylvania Law School, Chut Khan spent more than a decade working as a public defender in Washington, D.C. According to her biography on the court website, Chut Khan argued several appellate cases and tried over 30 cases, including numerous serious felony matters, as a public defender. Though Chut Khan has, or it could be Kut Khan. That could also be the correct pronunciation. You know what, chat? Find out. Find out how this last name's pronounced. It's Jamaican, apparently. Was randomly appointed to oversee the special counsel's criminal case. She is no stranger to January 6, 2021 litigation. In November 2021, Chut Khan forcefully rejected Trump's attempts to block the House Select Committee investigating January 6 from accessing more than 700 pages of records from his White House. Chut Khan, like many other federal judges in Washington, has presided over dozens of criminal cases against alleged January 6th rioters. She has been outspoken about the riot at several sentencing hearings, calling the violence an assault on American democracy and warning of future danger from political violence, and has repeatedly gone over what prosecutors have requested for convicted rioters' prison sentences. At a December 2021 sentencing hearing, she looked ahead to the 2024 election, saying that every day we are hearing about reports of anti-democratic I can't speak right now. It's Chut Khan? Chut Khan. Chut Khan. Chut Khan? It's Chut Khan. Okay. Appellate? It's pronounced appellate. Okay, we're learning how to pronounce all sorts of new things today. Thank you, chat. It has been made clear that trying to stop the peaceful transition of power, assaulting law enforcement, is going to be met with certain punishment, she said. Chut Khan has even tacitly referenced Trump during criminal sentencings, saying to one rioter that he did not go to the United States Capitol out of any love for our country. He went for one man. Ooh, it's gonna be good. Oh, this is gonna be good, guys. That's the judge, guys. This is gonna be fucking good. This is going to be juicy. This is going to be succulent. This is going to be moist and flavorful, guys. This is going to be absolutely mouth-watering. Whew. Trump's court and campaign calendar is growing ever more crowded as possible charges loom in Georgia. Jesus Christ. Yeah, wait, this is all of the things that he's facing right now, okay? He's got lawsuits pending from Jean Carroll, for the rape. He's got a lawsuit pending from the police, apparently, but he's also suing Jean Carroll. But he's got an incoming lawsuit from police officers for some reason, and then Peter Strozek through the DOJ is suing Trump, and then the Manhattan DA is after Trump for his finances. And then he's got a separate DOJ investigation for the 2020 election. And then for national security, we've got the Mar-a-Lago investigation coming at him. And then for more 2020 election shit, you've got the Fulton County DA suing him. That's in Georgia, or coming after him with criminal charges, I should say. And then finally, for more of his finances shit, you've got the New York State Attorney General coming after him. And that is the currently lined up list of shit Trump is dealing with right now. Multiple of those being federal charges, by the way. Is it struck? It just struck? Okay, thank you. Dude. Dude, he's so fucked. Look at this image. This is the image that visualizes it. They've got color coding for the different... He's got 4 overall things that are scandalous about him. He's dealing with legal shit for right now. So you've got the color coding. So these are Trump's finances. These are the pending individual lawsuits he's facing that are just kind of like too numerous to make more categories for. You've got the national security shit with the files in Mar-a-Lago. And then you've got 2020 election overturning shit. He's so fucked, dude. It's so good. I'm so, like, chat, hypers if this makes you, like, just ecstatic like it does me. I need to know you guys are as happy as I am about this. Good. Good, 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 good. That's what I like to see. That is what I like to see. Post-indictment poll shows more Americans see new charges against Trump as serious. Okay. 2/3 of Americans, 65%, say that the charges former President Donald Trump faces over efforts to overturn the 2020 elections are serious. According to a new poll from ABC News and Ipsos? I forget how that one's pronounced. I'm sorry. I always read these things, so how you pronounce them is just never just ended up being a thing. Conducted after Trump's latest indictment. There's a larger share than felt that, that's a larger share than felt that way after either the charges he faces over alleged mishandling of classified documents. 61% of the charges related to that's a larger share than felt that way about either the charges he faces over alleged mishandling of classified documents, which is 61%, or the charges related to a hush money payment that he faces in New York, 52%. Most, 51%, described the new charges as very serious, compared to 42 who said so on the documents said so on the documents charges, and 30% on the hush money case. God, this is so weirdly written, but it's not like badly written. It's just the sentence structure's weird and it doesn't flow well with the way that I talk. That's my bad. A majority in the new poll say Trump should have been charged with a crime in this case, 52% versus 32%, who say he should not have been charged. And about half say he ought to suspend his presidential campaign because of it. Holy shit. That's quite a bit. You know what kind of always stood out for me? Sorry, I had to burp. You know what always stood out to me, ever since I started to move more to the left from my era of cringe conservative politics as a teenager, was I noticed there weren't a lot of Democrats, like Democrat voting people legitimately moving to the right and deciding to vote Republican. Like, it just wasn't a thing. You weren't seeing a lot of people turned into new Trump supporters, but you were seeing entire Facebook groups and Twitter accounts dedicated to regretful Trump supporters from 2016. I literally, over the course of 4 years, saw tens of thousands of posts from people who claimed to have voted Trump in 2016 that regret it. It seemed like over the course of those 4 years, Trump was just bleeding supporters when he barely won the 2016 election to begin with. He lost the popular vote. He won by technicality with the Electoral College, which meant he couldn't handle too big of a hit to his overall voter numbers going into 2020, or he was guaranteed to lose. And that's exactly what happened. And the fact that Donald Trump is now looking even worse after all of this, and we've got like half of Americans on average are of the opinion these charges against Trump are really serious. Like, that tells me that Trump's chances in 2024, hell, the Republicans' chances overall in 2024 do not look good. Hell, the policies the Republicans have been pushing are just not popular. The wanting to ban teaching of science in schools to kids, the wanting to ban access to contraception and abortion, banning things like weed, and trying to, you know, increase criminalization of possession of, like, basically just recreational drugs like marijuana and hallucinogenic drugs. Like, people just aren't in favor of these dead old policies anymore that the Republican Party represents. The only thing these days that the right has going for them, in my opinion, if we're actually talking about, like, policy, is guns. I genuinely think that, and it's not even that the Democrats are really all that anti-gun. They're pretty anti-gun, and they can be pretty cringe about it. But really, there are separate organizations that are not affiliated with any particular party of the United States that are more behind a lot of the bullshit we deal with in regards to gun ownership. A lot of it's done at a state level, actually. The ATF, for example, is just there to enforce those rules. So, for example, here in Washington, the governor banned the vast majority of semi-automatic assault rifles. Pretty much anything that isn't, like, an antique, essentially. Like, and like, with very small restrictions, and then also there was some grandfathering in. It's really complicated. I looked into it, and I'm trying to figure out what gun I want to get, so I'm figuring out exactly what's legal, what I'm not allowed to get, what I am allowed to get, and trying to figure out the perfect build within Washington state law. You know, I'm a legal gun owner. I'm not trying to be an illegal gun owner. But yeah, I think that overall the Republicans being so strong on the pro-gun side of things really fucks over the Democrats on a lot of issues. It is true that Zoomers are more anti-gun than any other generation, but that's not by a crazy amount, right? Like, overall, especially upon getting older and owning property, the rate of, belief or approving of owning guns goes up in most Americans, particularly when, like, home ownership and property ownership starts to get involved in your life. Like, once you start to work a job and own a house, and you're like, fuck, you know, like, you know, if someone breaks into my house, it's just me here with God knows what to protect myself. I need a gun. It's America, dude. Like, people break into houses with guns. I need to have one too. You know, one of those situations. So with that in mind, I feel as though, and once you get a gun, you fall in love with the, like, sport of marksman shooting. So because of that, there's a vibrant culture in America around firearms. And the Republicans mostly have pushed a narrative that the Democrats are trying to demonize legal gun ownership. And in some cases, they are. There's a lot of misinfo you'll see spread about firearms by Democrat politicians. A good example is Joe Biden, when he said a 9mm bullet will blow the lungs out of your body. It's like, no. Basically, Joe Biden was trying to argue the only caliber of firearm that should be available to American citizens is .22. Which is like, no. Do not. It'll feel like it, but no. Yeah. Anyway, like, it's just provably false statements like that you'll see some very high up Democrats make. I see that shit repeated and used in Republican pro-gun, like, propaganda videos. Like, I'll go on YouTube trying to watch a video that's just about, like, a new gun that's come out that I think is cool and I want to learn about it. But then they go on a rant about how you should sign up and become a member of the NRA so that you can protect our Second Amendment rights against those goddamn Democrats. Meanwhile, the video has, like, 50 million views. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, there needs to be lefty gun content. And there needs to be some level of progressive messaging that gives the legal, responsible gun owner the idea that they are not hated for owning a gun. That they are not being lumped in with the school shooters and the people who do massacres or try to intimidate people in public with, like, open carrying at the Denny's or whatever. Like, I don't know. Outside of that, outside of guns, I really don't see any chance, in my humble opinion. This doesn't mean you should just be calm and not do anything come this election, but I don't see any chance of the Republicans having anything close to a sweep come the 2024 election. I really don't. I think the Republicans are actually more fucked than ever, and that is my honest-to-God opinion, and I want to make sure that's the case, so that means you should be more motivated than ever to vote, and to get out there and make your votes count, and to do some phone banking if you want to do that, maybe do a little bit of canvassing if you want to do that, but overall, voting is the best thing that you can do, and you should feel motivated by the fact that we have an almost sure victory here. Because you're not going to be doomering. That just because we have an almost sure victory doesn't mean you should just let loose and not care about this next election. That means you should be more motivated than ever instead of doomering like a lot of you guys do when things look bad. So yeah. Anyway, that's overall my thoughts on this. We're going to be keeping up to date with these developments with Trump's indictment and everything, and whether or not he gets convicted, and if he gets charged with... or if he gets given, like, jail or prison time. It's gonna be crazy. Let's find out what happens. Let's keep an eye on this. I'm excited to see. It's about time we saw some genuine karma come back around to bite Trump in the ass. Like, genuine deep shit karma. This is absolutely phenomenal. It really, really is. How do you guys like that segment? Fake Alec Kyle Parker, thank you so much for the $25 donation. That is very kind of you. Extremely generous. Just a straight up $25 money bag drop. Thank you. Said, Zan, when the right-wing death squads come, you will be a John Connor-like figure. I know it in my heart. I don't know about that. I don't know about there ever being right-wing death squads, but if that scenario ever does happen, if I'm gonna be some kind of John Connor-like figure, I need to tighten my fucking groupings, okay? I'm going to the range today after stream, actually. Me and my mom are gonna go because she leaves tomorrow to go back to California, and I got her into guns and shooting during this trip to visit me. I convinced her to shoot a gun for the first time, and I taught her how to shoot. And she shot a gun for the first time in her life while visiting me for my birthday about, on the 27th of July. It's been like a week. And ever since then, she's been hooked. This will be her third time going to the range. Will be later today. Pretty awesome. Thank you so much for the $25, though, fake Alec Kyle Parker. I really appreciate it. Remember, guys, if you want to support me, you can do so for completely free simply by subscribing on YouTube or hitting the like button. But you can also support me financially, which is always really helpful. It helps me keep the lights on, groceries in my fridge, and all that good stuff, simply by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, becoming a member on YouTube, or just super chatting through there. You can also do super stickers. And, of course, you can also support me financially through Twitch, Patreon, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, all that good stuff. It's all linked in the description. No matter how you support me, though, I really do appreciate it. Also, we've got 214 people here while Vosh is live. Like, I don't really, like, build my streams around whether or not anyone else is live. Like, I'll go live at the same time as Demon Mama, Vosh, Keffels, all that stuff. But I will say that I'm actually quite impressed with the amount of viewers we're retaining today while Vosh is also live, which I like to see because I know we share a fairly significant portion of our audiences, but it also tells me that I'm building a more distinct audience that's more like, I like Xanderhall. You know, I'm a Xanderhall guy, and it's like, aw, you guys are Xanderhall people. That's nice. Arthur is not B. I can't see the rest of your username. Let me see if I want... Arthur is not Buster. There we go. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. I really appreciate that. Sent me a blue avocado flying like Superman. Very nice. Thank you. I really appreciate it. All right. Okay. Okie dokie. You all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Alright, everybody. Lately, you all know I've been talking a whole lot about contraceptive rights because sex is fun and cool, but I don't think sex should essentially require, every time you do it, a massive risk of essentially ruining your life by either A, catching a sexually transmitted infection or disease, or B, potentially saddling yourself with the responsibility of parenthood for the next, 18 plus years. I genuinely think that, like, there should be recreational, casual sex that does not risk either of those two things, that can be done safely, and, at people's will as long as both parties consent and all that good stuff. However, the right is very much against this. Something you guys need to understand is that the conservative ideal worldview, a utopian conservative society in their minds, is one in which men and women have very, very distinct, different paths that they travel in life. Allow me to explain. This is very often how it was done back in the day as well. And none of the things I'm saying here are just being pulled out of thin air, by the way. You can look at a lot of incel, conservative, Andrew Tate type channels, and you'll hear much of this rhetoric coming from them shamelessly and mask-offedly. So, what Republicans want, their utopian society, is one in which a strong, powerful macho man is at the top of the totem pole, who makes all of the decisions and has a circle of yes men below them that all essentially just do as the dictator bids. But also, if the dictator shows weakness and is not capable of continuing to meet the expectations, standards, and what have you of these fascists, then they want to be able to oust them to put a more powerful, more macho man in power, right? And you'll notice that Republicans want to create a more miniaturized version of this on the societal scale as well. Look at your average conservative household. They very much, and they openly preach this, believe the father should be at the top, and that the father effectively owns his wife, his children, and, of course, the pets, right? So the totem pole of authority and power in the house goes father, mother, or wife, children, then dogs and cats and stuff like that, right? And then if there's like a lot of the times they'll have farm animals, and those farm animals go below like the indoor pets, right? That's not uncommon with a lot of conservative families, where I came from. And the idea behind this, you'll notice, is that, and we even have this enshrined in our law, children and women are property of the men who's the patriarch of their family, right? They are the property of their father or of their husband. Not only that, but in most Christian, traditional American conservative marriages, a very common practice is for the father to give his daughter off to the groom. It is a symbolic show of the fact that the father is now giving away ownership of his daughter to a man who is now the new owner that he is deemed to be like, befitting of that thing. There's also the asking for the father's blessing as well to determine whether or not the man is of the father's liking for ownership of his daughter. That's essentially what the tradition does, right? But for men, there's always been a very different, this is basically the ideal conservative view of a woman's life would be she's born, and immediately from the start of her being able to intake stimuli from the outside world, she would be under the pressure of gender expectations, wearing feminine clothing, playing with feminine toys, she, her pronouns, a feminine name, no doubt reading like the Bible and the scripture, etc., living by very hardline conservative morals, the father deciding what she can and can't wear going out of the house, deciding you don't get the date until I decide decide when you're allowed to have a boyfriend or whatever. These are very common, very, very, very common in America, especially in the South and with like conservative families down here, because the father views the daughter as his property that he needs to protect from other men who, because, you know, a lot of these conservative men are horrible fucking weirdos. When they think of what other men want to do with their daughter, they think of the most horrific shit imaginable. Because, to be fair, that's probably the kind of shit they wanted to do with other men's daughters when they were a kid and now as adults. And so that is why a lot of these older conservative men, when they imagine what other men might do with their daughters and why they're so, over or against their daughters dating another guy, is because they're piece of shit dudes who think any guy their daughter will date is the same. You hear this a lot in a lot of those, like, dad TikToks. You ever seen dad TikToks where it's like a conservative dad standing in like a cornfield and he's like, right, so if you want your daughter to love you even into adulthood and to see herself as your little girl, I'm literally word for word quoting him, you want to be a good father in these ways. You want her to find a man, he literally says this, you want to be as good of a father as possible so that she'll find a man who's like you. You want her to think about the idea of marrying a man who's like you in a good way. Otherwise, she will become fatherless, so to say, and will start dating men of all sorts of shapes, sizes, and backgrounds just to spite you. You know, just like this really deranged rant. You'll hear these from like a lot of the like conservative dad TikToks that go viral with millions of views, and you just got like a bunch of teenage boys in the replies like, yeah, based boomer, bro. And the reason for this is because they believe that around the age of 16, 17, 18, the more pedophilic conservatives, a lot of them, believe earlier, that immediately women should start being pushed by their fathers into marrying ideally a man of their choosing, right? Like, the father would be like, hey, my friend Joe from down at the VFW, he got a son. He served 2 tours in Iraq. He's 34 years old. You know, like, I'm imagining this, like, conservative, like, veteran guy who's, like, missing several teeth on one side of his face. That's why I did that. Yeah, so, like, you see that kind of stuff, like the borderline arranged marriage in the South, where it's like you live in such a small town that like the parents already decided this couple was going to end up getting married and dating like when they were 8. Like, that is not uncommon, at least in like country, rural Florida areas away from the coast and the cities. And I'm sure it's common. And oh yeah, purity balls, such a good point. Purity balls are very common. Do you guys know what a purity ball is? This is important to talk about. A purity ball is a formal dance event typically practiced by some conservative Christian groups in the United States. The events are attended by fathers and their teenage daughters in order to promote virginity until marriage. Typically, daughters who attend a purity ball make a virginity pledge to remain sexually abstinent until marriage. Fathers who attend a purity ball make a promise to protect their young daughter's purity of mind, body, and soul. The balls are considered a part of purity culture. I'm sorry, but the writing of that sentence was really funny. Proponents of these events believe that they encourage close and deeply affectionate relationships between fathers and daughters, thereby avoiding the premarital sexual activity that allegedly results when young women seek love through relationships with young men. Critics of the balls argue that they encourage and engrave dysfunctional expectations in their minds of the young women, making them vulnerable to believing their only value is as property, and teaching them that they must subjugate their own mental, physical, and emotional well-being to the needs of potentially or actually abusive partners. Ah, yes, basically exactly my point. Yeah, I like how the Wikipedia page for it also just explains why it's horrible in the end of the definition. But like, you can look all across conservative messaging and see how a lot of it is based around the idea that around before the age of 18, ideally in conservatives' worldview, a woman at the will of her father should be preparing to marry a man. But here's how conservatives believe the ideal life of a man should go under a conservative worldview. They believe that a man should grow up, basically just boys, boys will be boys kind of stuff. You've seen that kind of thing. Like, just a lot more go out there and be tough and scrape up your knees and get in trouble and get yourself out of it, that kind of stuff. They believe that the only way for young boys to be raised is through forced self-sufficiency, right? Some level of, like, tough love and forced self-sufficiency to teach responsibility. That's basically what they'll say. And I think a lot of them actually believe that, though, not a very good parenting technique. And so by the time that most, they believe that by the time most men hit 18, they should then be getting into a trade. Back in the day, they would say college, but now the right hates college, so they don't believe in that anymore. But getting into something that will make them money and get them like a lifelong career or job. And then by the age of 30 or something, they should be much more financially well off and much more, romantically desirable, quote unquote, because they have money and stuff like that. And conservatives do genuinely believe women only care about men and being with them for the sake of their own needs being met, despite the fact they're also against the feminism movement making women have independence, but we'll get into that in a moment. And the idea is that men, you'll hear this a lot from conservatives, men are most desirable in their 30s, and a lot of conservative men say this part, while women are more desirable the younger they are. They won't specify at what age, weirdly enough. They'll just say the younger they are. If you want to know what most of these conservatives mean when they say that, you can look at Jess Purley Things, who recently tweeted, teenage girls are more attractive than, like, adult women, is what she tweeted. And then she deleted it, I'm pretty sure. That's what Jess Purley Things tweeted, yeah. Yeah, did she say 15 years old? Wait, did she specify? I thought she just said teenage. She said 16-year-olds are hotter than 26-year-olds. Dude. Not only that, but even by creepo conservative standards, I don't even feel like that would be true, right? Like, a 26-year-old woman is very, very, like, young still, relatively, like, in the grand scheme of things, but still very much sexually developed. Like, a 26-year-old woman has, like, boobs and a butt and, like, probably thick legs and, like, is shapely and stuff. Like, they're woman shaped, right? Like, that happens in your 20s. They don't like those things, Zan. That's, like, literally since I was a kid, I've been attracted more to, like, women going into their 20s and 30s, because unironically, there is, like, a certain level of bodily change that, like, in your shape that happens to you around 19 or 20 years old. Happened to me, where, like, my body just kind of changed shape a little bit. I was like, interesting. I look like I'm more man-shaped now than, like, boy-shaped, right? And, like, the same thing happens with women. So, yeah. When you see right-wingers talking about this shit, it's just pedo baiting. It's literally them trying to appease the pedos in their audience. That said, they believe that men are most desirable into their 30s when they've got their life established, pretty much, right? And so this essentially forms this tendency of the 30-year-old man marrying an 18, 19, maybe 20-year-old girl. 30-plus-year-old man, right? And that is, like, the ideal conservative, format of things, right? Because conservative men should have very young very young wives and girlfriends or whatever, and they should own their daughters. And then the cycle repeats again. That is what conservatives want to happen. But this is why they hate feminism and progressivism, because activists have pushed for women to have the right to vote and work and own property and stuff like that. And that kind of throws a wrench in the effective, legally enforced enslavement of women. And that's what it was for a very long time. The legally enforced enslavement of women. And so, what ended up happening now, or what's happening now, is women kind of actually can just sort of, like, do what they want like men could before. Like, women can just sort of, like, go to college and then get a long-term career, make a shit ton of money, and buy, like, a big house, and then maybe, like, hunt for, like, a 19-year-old dude and marry him when they're in their 40s. Like, now they can do the reverse, like, Uno reverse card flip scenario Or even just like, still ew, I know, but mostly the joke that I'm making is women can actually just go and live their lives, like their early 20s, up into their 30s or 40s, single, and just pursuing their own interests and their own career like men have done, and it has been completely acceptable for men to do in our society for a century plus. While women have been expected to find a man as quickly as possible to support you. That has been the effective construction of this. And there are countries where they legally require this, right? Like in a lot of like extremely hardcore Islam law enforcing countries, women aren't allowed to leave the house without a man accompanying them, whether it be their brother, their father, or their husband. And let's be honest, if conservatives had their way, then that's exactly what would be happening here in America. However, there is a massive market in convincing these men, sorry, I should not say convincing, but giving these men who are upset that this isn't how things are done so much anymore, validation in their desires and their sadness over how they can't have a, arranged marriage wife when they turn 35 years old who's like a decade and a half younger than them. There's a lot of like monetary gain to get out of validating those men as a woman online. One of the people who's built a very big career out of doing this is Sydney Watson, who I believe works with the Daily Wire. She's actually just straight up like paid to do this shit. She's not like a YouTuber just working from her room and talking about what she believes in. She is a grifter through and through. I'm quite certain of it. She has nearly 1 million subscribers, and this video is only a day old with over 250,000 views. And this video is called How Birth Control Destroyed a Generation of Women. That's right, guys. As I mentioned before, the right has not given up their desire and their attempts to try to take away people's rights to access contraceptive care and birth control. They want to ban that shit. They want to make it so anytime sex is had, well, you better be married. Otherwise, there's a high chance of having a baby, and there's a high chance of, if you sleep around, if they ban things like condoms and what have you, there's a high chance of catching an STI because you can't protect yourself.
Me, but please do not. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Foom.
Oh my
God. The negative of time. Upon an art table, for we've all been.
So for those of you guys that don't know, I'm pretty sure that's what this is going to be about. There's like a bunch of conservative outrage right now about the effects that some birth control has on women's hormones, which is like, yeah, it's kind of been a symptom for a while of a lot of medication. So basically, what conservatives have been trying to do lately, and they're doing with trans-affirming care as well, is trying to point out symptoms and side effects of medication and say, look, this medication has potential side effects. Let's ban it. Not for ideological reasons, but for your safety. And then they'll pretend like they haven't been against that medicine for political reasons for like a really long time. Birth control used to make me detrimentally nauseated, but I got nauseated from everything. Well, birth control has a different effect on whoever takes it, right? So there are plenty of women who take birth control and end up having like insane mood swings and hormonal issues and just like a long laundry list of issues. It could be a lack of hair, like it could cause hair to thin out, it can cause hair to grow, it can cause balding or your hair to grow more on the top of your head. It can cause like just irregular periods and all sorts of crazy shit, right? Headaches, hot flashes. I literally can't even imagine how many symptoms. There's just so much shit. And sometimes, obviously, it doesn't work 100% of the time. Birth control is not 100% effective. It's why doubling up with as much as you can is ideal. Using using the pill, while also wearing a condom and pulling out, those are 3 very effective methods that, when combined, will very likely get you effectively a 100% chance of not having a pregnancy issue. And then, of course, you can throw some plan B afterwards if you really want to, scorched earth, ensure there's not going to be any unforeseen issues in the future. And if you do get pregnant, then at that point, you might as well let the pregnancy go to term because you have like a super baby and you might actually be brewing up like a Spartan super soldier of the likes of Master Chief or something. And then you should like sell the baby to science because goddamn, did that spermie make it through a lot of crazy shit.
Preoccupied elsewhere.
Hi, today would be day 500 of being a girl.
But recently, I happened upon an
They really are just seething still over Dylan Mulvaney, aren't they? You know what's funny? Let me show you guys a great Blue Sky tweet I made recently. This is, I was scrolling through Wall Street Bets, looking at the cope from the Elon Musk simps, and I saw this. I keep losing against Bud. This is Bud Light. I can't stop losing betting against Bud. Ever since the boycott, I've been buying puts, but I jumped in too late, and my puts always expire worthless or don't move fast enough, and I just give up and open a new position. I keep seeing Modelo taking over the market over Bud Light, but the stock just doesn't move much in the last month, down only 0.25% only. I guess it's already priced in, and it's cost me over 1K already. It's also cost me my girlfriend, but that's another story. Is the stock gonna just recover from this point forward? People are just gonna forget? For those that don't know, puts are basically where you can essentially bet it's really high risk, okay? Doing what this guy was doing is really high risk because your losses can compound further than your gain, than like what you put in by a lot. Like you are essentially, it's essentially doing what the hedge funds were doing when doing what the hedge funds were doing when the Wall Street Bets GME shit happened. Only there's no market manipulation happening here to fuck this guy over. Bud's just not losing anything, and so he's just gonna have to buy those stocks back at a higher price than what he borrowed them for, and he's fucked himself so hard. Yeah, he really did. Yeah, he really fucked himself there. But yeah, the Bud Light boycott shit is basically all fizzled out at this point. So it's a pretty dead meme.
An article titled "Conservative Influencers Are Pushing an Anti-Birth Control Message," and I thought, yes, now it feels like the right time. The article outlines several commentators and personalities, both male and female, who have made comments about the negative effects of hormonal birth control. And just to be clear, yes.
Well, no. Don't pretend like what they have against birth control is concerns about the negative hormonal effects, because everybody from users of those birth controls, as well as the doctors who prescribe them and the people who develop them, are well aware and well concerned of those things. You are ideologically against it, as well as Ben Shapiro and the rest are ideologically against it because it offers women the freedom to have casual, non-committal sex, which you view as sinful and awful and the problem with women nowadays.
There are multiple types of contraceptives. Some are hormonal and some are not, but I specifically am talking about the pill. And we'll be using a bunch of terms interchangeably, like oral contraceptive, or the pill, or the birth control pill, or hormonal birth control pill. And I'm sorry if that's at all confusing or not scientific, but it's too late to do anything about it now. The article also says that mentioning the consequences of taking the pill will instill fear in women who could otherwise benefit from this medication. It also links to
over-exaggerating the potential. So the issue with conservatives and the way they frame everything is it's always lies. And something that you'll always find out with these conservative videos when they basically refer to any article is that they're lying about the very thing they're citing. A good example of this was the other day when we covered that Sunny V2 clone who was defending him and tried to bring up a study that claimed that kids were harmed by having a trans father, but the person was trying to claim, essentially they were trying to claim that Chris Tyson, who is MTF, being trans, would have a harmful impact on the kid. So the YouTuber shows a scientific study titled, and just the title of it, about the effect of kids having a transgender father. But then I went and I looked at the study, and the study was about, by transgender father, they meant trans men, as in like FTM trans people who are fathers to kids, not mothers to the kids. So the guy got that wrong. And then we actually read the conclusion, which was just barely cut out by the guy's screenshot he showed in the video. And it says, there is no evidence whatsoever in any data we've collected so far to demonstrate that there is any harmful impact or positive impact, any difference whatsoever on kids being risen by a trans or cis father. But even then, the study doesn't apply to having a trans mother, which is what that person was actually trying to claim. So it's just, they always do this, and it's gotten to the point where it's like, do I have to hunt down the article she's referring here to? And do you think the article actually says that it is bad to inform women who use birth control about the potential side effects because that might prevent them from using it? Do you think that's what the article said, or do you think maybe the article said, these conservative commentators lie and over-exaggerate and fearmonger about the potential side effects of these drugs in an attempt to try to scare young women away from using them in a time where they are also attempting to take away women's abilities to terminate pregnancy in the form of like getting an abortion if it comes to that? I think maybe the article said the latter, and Sydney Watson is lying her ass off here, because that's pretty much every one of these videos we watch, but I'm sure I'll get a lot of comments in the down below telling me, well, you didn't look into it, so you have got nothing. Whatever, though. I'm not fact-checking this one myself. I'm tired.
Another article from
Code
February
word? Nah.
by Media Matters that directly goes after the comments of Alex Clark from Poplitics, who said that the pill is poison and her objective is to get women off of it. I think one of the primary problems with this topic is that people try to paint it as a left-wing versus right-wing issue, which would explain all the angry articles I found about it.
Oh yeah, for those that don't know, Sydney Watson, like, is a white nationalist. Like, she's full-on in favor of the, she was, like, a big proponent of, for those that don't know, there was, like, this white nationalist Nazi group that started putting up the "It's okay to be white" posters around Australia, and she was a big proponent of, like, what do you mean? What's wrong with the message "it's okay to be white"? Do you think it's not okay to be white? And, like, you look up that phrase, and it's, like, the most well-known dog whistle for, like, Nazism and white nationalism that there is. Basically, the message of the "it's okay to be white" code phrase is that they want to make the country white, and they are upset that they are being marginalized for wanting the country to be white. And so the meaning of the phrase is, it's okay to be white, as in it's okay for our country to be white only. It has a few layers. You know, it's a little bit like chat. How many of you know what "I'm gonna keep it Milwaukee with you" means? It's a little bit like trying to decode slang, right? Where there's like layers to it, right? "I'm going to keep it Milwaukee with you" means, so Milwaukee is where the basketball team, like the Bucks, play, right? And like, "I'm going to keep it a buck with you" means I'm going to, you know, be serious with you, right? And then you would like also keep it, I forget how it goes. Yeah, I think that's how it goes, right? I think that's the layers. Yeah, I think that's like there's multiple layers to it. It actually requires explanation, but once you know what it means, now you know what the meaning behind it is. That when I say "I'm going to keep it Milwaukee with you," it means I'm going to keep it real with you, right? It's the same thing with a dog whistle, like "it's okay to be white." There are several layers of meaning behind it, and the intention is, if I explain what the actual insidious meaning behind this this seemingly very innocuous phrase, like, nobody actually disagree. Well, there are some people that are insane, but most people don't disagree with the statement on its face. It's okay to be white, obviously, but there's more meaning to that under the surface. But if you explain it, you seem like you're schizo. Today is Wednesday. What's going on? Chat, why are you question marking me? Do you not understand? Do you not understand the "I'm going to keep it Milwaukee with you" thing? Did you not get the hold on. I can bring up Urban Dictionary to explain like the I can't find it. Anyway, it basically means like, because the bucks, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, and then blah blah blah. It goes a couple more layers, but it makes sense. You'll understand. Anyway, my point is that yeah, conservatives are awful. This lady tries to pretend like she's not a Nazi, despite there being a pretty long-standing history of her defending like very well-known white nationalist and neo-Nazi groups and sayings and slogans. But now she kind of pretends to be this, like, centrist, you know... She's basically doing the same grift as Shoe on Head. Like, they're... Pretty much, yeah. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, she's just conservative woman number 879.
And that's largely because some groups view contraception, just as a general rule, as wrong and or sinful and or bad. There is also a fear that contraception will be next on the chopping block as far as other discussions around pregnancy have gone. But here's the thing. I don't view this as a sides of the aisle issue. And I believe that all women, regardless of where they sit on the political spectrum, should have an understanding of what they're putting in their body and what it inevitably will do to them. And
They do. They do. They're on the box. They can talk to their doctor. This is a conservative push to, like, fearmonger about the very known side effects of birth control, potential side effects of birth control, I should say, to make it sound like you're doing some big, like, blockbuster story exposing to all these women about how dangerous it is, when what you're actually doing is, in most cases, just lying about the risks of using birth control. There are risks, but you're just concern trolling. Like, the right has realized that the ideologically driven desire to take away women's rights in this way, it doesn't work. So instead, they're going to pretend like they're actually concerned for women's health and safety, and that's why they want to take away birth control. It's not about taking away their rights, it's about protecting them.
most importantly, I believe in choice. If the pill is the right choice for you, then so be it. But by the same token, I also believe in making informed choices. And unfortunately, so that's what as definitely again, and the moodiness.
All right, so here's
thinking critically about hormonal birth control largely prevents pregnancy. And it's especially meaningful for ladies who have been taking this medication for years and years. What do you actually know about this thing that you take every day that stops your period and largely prevents pregnancy?
Well, no, it doesn't stop your period. You're already wrong. What part of why hormonal birth control is risky in some cases is because of the effects it can have on menstruation. Some women it'll stop their period, some it'll cause even heavier periods, some it'll like delay periods and just wiggy-waggy the schedule into something different. So like she's already demonstrating she doesn't know what she's talking about because like, aren't you talking about how the pill has different effects on different women and there are like certain side effects that you could have? Some you can take for getting rid of your period, Zan? Really? But wouldn't one of the side effects of that she's discussing be that sometimes it fucks with your... Oh, it can help clear up acne too, but you know what I also know? Birth control can also cause acne. That's another side effect. I have met girls who have, like, acne from birth control, and it's something that they fight against, but it's just... It fucks with their hormones, and they end up having more acne. It's another one of those side effects. One of the much more... you know, mild side effects that are likely to happen, but like some birth controls cause heavy periods. That's like one of the side effects that some women will face are like really, really bad periods, which is part like IUDs. Like that's a whole other different form of birth control as well. Implants that go in the arm and implants that go up into the pussy. Like those are all a different other can of worms that I don't even know if they're going to get into, but there's tons of potential side effects with that, right? There's weight gain and losses. These are all things that people who use birth control know about. You want to know why?
I learned all of these things from women who use birth control. And then I had sex with them.
As Dr. Hill points out, even asking the question feels risky to a lot of women. Thinking critically about hormonal birth control feels like a slippery slope to allowing it to be outlawed again, as it has been throughout history.
Zan, not
but the
virgin
alternative
confirmed?
isn't much better. Women shouldn't be expected to take a medication daily while not fully comprehending what it is doing to their bodies and their brains. But that's exactly what the current...
Wait, expected to take a medication daily? Excuse me. Taking birth control is a choice. And what you're trying to do is make it seem as though it's a battle between the left who wants to keep these women in the dark about the symptoms of these things and the right who wants to inform them fully about the medication they're taking, when in reality this is just another instance of the right trying to find an excuse to take a right from a... Funnily enough, they're the right, but they just love taking away rights. The only right they care about is the Second Amendment. And so, yeah, it's funny that they found like this weird concern trolling angle to go at it from. Does this video get interesting at any point?
Contraceptive products. A research paper called How the Pill Became a Lifestyle Drug, the Pharmaceutical Industry and Birth Control in the United States since 1960 outlines how messaging and advancement around and of the pill started to change. From the 1960s to the 1980s, the paper says that pharmaceutical companies advertised birth control pills expressly for the purposes of birth control, which, like, wow, no-brainer there. But as the pill grew in popularity, pharmaceutical companies found little incentive for investing in the innovation.
Okay. So now we're trying to do the anti-pharmaceutical company, like Big Pharma angle. So conservatives are very much in favor of Big Pharma. They elect people like Donald Trump who continue to uphold the current state of the of Big Pharma, of these very few companies that have a lot of money holding patents on these very life-saving drugs and inflating their prices to insane amounts in America, to the point where you can literally just go hop on over to the border of Mexico to where there are towns where you can buy insulin for $30 a vial and all that other shit that's like literally hundreds or thousands of dollars in America. You can buy for like tens of dollars, dozens of dollars over, like literally just like walk over the border into Mexico, walk into a store. It's like, yeah. Insulin patent was sold for $1. That was like a more recent thing, but I'm talking about the fact that Big Pharma for a long time has had a very bad reputation in America. Ask any American, they probably don't like Big Pharma when you say that to them. You just have to mention Big Pharma and their brains will go, oh, bad. Big Pharma, bad. Oh, monkey. You know, and that'll be their brain, right? And so, that's what she's trying to do right now. They do the same thing with hormones and hormone blockers and all that shit, where they say, yes, but these hormones and these gender-affirming cares come from Big Pharma, who have a monetary incentive in making more trans people. And they try to take this like bizarre, anti-Big Pharma approach to anti-science. But it's just anti-science and trying to take people's rights away, just with extra steps. Like they've always been doing. I mean, to be fair, Sydney Watson has been effectively dog whistling and brainwashing people into conservative beliefs for like a decade now online, so she's pretty good at it.
Of new methods, and eventually shifted their marketing of existing contraceptive products away from the function of fertility control. It was the 1990s that brought about the very messaging we see today. And it was here that manufacturers began promoting oral contraceptives as lifestyle drugs. This was a term coined in 1978 that generally describes medications that improve a person's quality of life by treating less serious and sometimes cosmetic conditions. For the pill, new advertising targeted the medication's secondary effects, such as treating acne and reducing the frequency of menstruation. Big Pharma wanted to emphasize the control of pimples, moods, and period cramps.
Well, there are ones that can do that, apparently. Like, there are birth control pills that can do that, but can also have the side effect of not doing that.
Rather than the control of actual fertility. And
what? Okay. I'm going to inform you of a goofy little fact about medicine and science, okay? Believe it or not, there are a lot of medicines, or I should just say outright drug, compounds that have multiple medicinal uses by humans. There are literally inhalable steroids for improving asthma and other breathing conditions that have the side effect of also being a mood stabilizer. Like acting as a SSRI. That's not uncommon. It's just a side effect. My mom takes started taking a new inhaler thing for her like lung conditions and shit, and she just ended up being a completely different person afterwards. Like, a lot of the issues that me and her have had, like, through my entire life growing up, just gone. She's, like, a completely different person now. Like, she doesn't freak out and scream over nothing like she used to or get like mean and rude and violent. she's basically become a different person after taking it. It turns out the thing she's taking not only has the effect of acting as a steroid for breathing, for helping breathing, but it's also a SSRI. It's a mood stabilizer. And it just had a positive effect on her as a side effect. Just so happened. Some anti-Parkinson drugs are also anti-influenza type A drugs as well. Apparently, lots of women use what's it called, Viagra and other erection. What's it called? The erectile dysfunction. Other erectile dysfunction medications are taken by women to help with heart disease. That's a thing, and it actually helps them. I don't know which came first, which thing the medication was made to deal with first, but yeah, apparently they stabilize the heart, and so tons of women take it for helping with heart conditions. It is not uncommon for a medicine to have a certain intended use, to discover a bunch of positive side effects, and to start marketing around those as well. Unfortunately, we have a industry around medicine. It's not free. You can't just go into the doctor with free healthcare and just walk out with your medicine, something that, obviously Sydney Watson is against free healthcare. She's not actually in favor of anything being done about Big Pharma. She just wants there to be a ban on birth control and to attack Big Pharma as a means of getting there, even though she's fully in favor of, monopolies and peak capitalism. Although she is a Nazi, who knows? Maybe she has more Nazgul-leaning values in that department. Does this get interesting anytime soon?
Hormonal birth control. Women are attracted to men with different smells. Yep, you got it. Pheromones. These are associated with masculine features and higher testosterone levels. And on hormonal birth control, they're attracted to men that are more similar to them, with lower testosterone levels, more feminine features, and they're typically regarded as caretakers. There are more studies that also show that taking birth control changes which men you attract as well.
The last thing that I want to make note of here is that Dr.
This video got really weird as we got further in. Now it's about how women have to be careful about taking birth control because they'll be attracted to and will attract different men because of their pheromones. What? I knew this was going to go insano mode, but I didn't know it was going to go that insano mode. What are the comments like? We've been doing this for 42 minutes and I'm bored. I want to see what the comments are like. Well, who would expect that messing with hormones will change people in a bad way? I was placed on birth control around the age of 16 to regulate my cycle because I had very irregular periods. Lucky for me, it made me feel crazy and I stopped taking it after a few months. One of the best decisions I've made, and I didn't even know it at the time. Why? For what reason? This 100% affects the lads. It had a huge impact on my wife and I's life. I brought this up to her after seeing Sydney talk about it before, and my wife did a ton of research and got off that garbage a while ago. Never been better. Thanks, Sydney Watson. And it does matter to the lads. We want the best for the women in our lives. Oh my god, he thought his wife was a bitch. And so he went to his wife and said, hey, you've been being a real bitch lately. Get off the birth control. Oh my god. I was not sexually active, but as a teenager, every sports physical came with an argument with the doctor about birth control. This started at age 12. Okay? Yeah. You could... that's when a lot of these effects that many birth controls are made to mitigate can come in. And also, there are people who are sexually active at 12. It's definitely too young in my opinion, but it happens, and I'd prefer they're doing it safely, because I literally, in middle school, when I was in 6th grade, had a classmate who got pregnant. She was 12 years old, and it was... everybody else there was like... even the other students were like... we were all 12-year-olds with a girl in our class who was also 12 who was pregnant, and all of us were just like... we didn't mock her. We didn't make fun of her. We all were like, to some degree, understanding of like the bad shit that went down behind the scenes to cause that to happen. Because even then we knew 12-year-olds aren't supposed to be pregnant. That's a bit young. Like I expected maybe high school is when this would start to happen, but not the first year of middle school. Anyway. A man here. I worked for a large drug distribution company. I visited pediatricians and had practices in depressed areas, and one doctor told me that he tricked young teenagers into birth control with the "this cures acne" promise. He felt that he was saving young women from single motherhood and that they would have not gotten OCPs, over-the-counter birth control, over-the-counter pills, but would gladly take a medicine regularly that fought acne. I like how a lot of these are just anecdotes from people in the comments who are like, just trust me, bro. Then again, I mean, they did this with the vaccine, too. I feel like at this point, we're just going to have to deal with, like, new waves of the conservatives just finding and cherry-picking shit to try to make a boogeyman out of every good thing they want to take away. Because I think they're starting to realize telling people, we're just going to take away this right from you, elect us so we can do that, doesn't really work these days. So instead, they're going to try to argue, actually, this right you have is hurting you. You should elect us so we can get rid of it. So this right will stop hurting you. You know, it's like, okay, I see what you're doing there. The good old-fashioned concern trolling. What'd you guys think of that segment? I feel like it came out pretty good. No, we're not doing an Illuminati exposed video today. I gotta go to the range. I'm going to the range after stream today, guys. I gotta do my segments. We gotta do the schmegments. We gotta do the schmegments. I've got a good one for you guys next. Oh, it looks like Keffels is going to be covering the legal threats against me today. So we'll probably raid into Keffels after stream so you guys can get the all the info from her, because she can't be like legally acted upon at all, but I can, no matter how bogus the claims are, and I've got to defend it. All right, you guys ready? Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1, action. Well, guys, my home state of Florida is truly going down the shitter. Many of you guys may not know this. I imagine some of you guys... is school in session in Florida right now? Any Florida people in chat know if school is even in session this time of year? Are we in summer break? I'm pretty sure we are. Like, school's supposed to come back in, like, August, right? It's not in session? That makes sense. Well, if you are a Florida high school student, prepare to have an entire class stricken from the board in regards to options that you can have as a class that you take. From the Orlando Sentinel, AP Psychology, Advanced Placement, Psychology, course can't be offered over gender identity and sexual orientation lessons, College Board says. That's right. Florida will not allow public school students to take advanced placement psychology because the course includes lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity, topics forbidden by the state, the College Board said Thursday. The state, however, said the College Board was playing games and the course could be offered. However, the Florida Department of Education had previously told the College Board it would need to sign an assurance document that AP Psychology and other AP courses met Florida laws and rules. So they're like literally on the final step of unironically banning AP Psychology from being taught in Florida public schools because in AP Psychology, it teaches that sex and gender aren't the same. So for a long time, conservatives have said, oh, trans people aren't valid, men are women, or men are men and women are women. Look at it, look at a fucking textbook. And now they're banning the textbooks because the textbooks don't agree with them. You've noticed that, right? Like the right will try to argue that the facts are on their side up until people start saying, wait a second, no, they're not. And then they start to ban the facts from being accessible. It's what Elon Musk did with buying Twitter and basically banning every, like, lefty account that dared to stand up against conservatives, and exactly what the right's doing here by straight up banning AP psychology from being taught. The College Board would not do that and said to the College Board would not do that and said to offer its course in Florida would mean dropping sexual orientation and gender identity, key topics in a college-level psychology course. As a result, it advised school districts not to make it part of their schedule for the coming school year. For those who don't know, AP courses are college-level classes you can take in high school in order to get ahead on your, like, progress in college before you even get there. And I took AP psychology, I passed it. It's one of the easier AP classes you can take. And it really helps with your, like, GPA and everything. That means the class schedules for thousands of students are likely up in the air now. With schools starting August 10th in most districts, about 5,000 students in Central Florida and about 28,000 statewide took AP Psychology last year. A spokeswoman for Lake County Schools said the district would not offer AP Psychology this year based on guidance from the College Board and the Education Department. The district will be giving students options to take other college-level psychology courses that do not include the banned topics, Sherry Owens said in an email. So as long as they cut out, the science that goes against what they like, then those classes will be allowed to be taught. Hey, didn't the Nazis do exactly this when they banned, like when they burned the textbooks and like banned the teaching of what they considered degenerate? Like they banned like the teaching of this shit too as well, and they burned the textbooks. Like literally, like hold on, we can go into this. Nazis burned gender textbooks. It was a pioneering trans library until the Nazis burned it. In Weimar, Germany, the gay Jewish doctor Magnus Hirschfeld performed the first gender-affirming surgeries and collected research on sexuality. The 1933 book burnings destroyed his life's work. Just a few months after Adolf Hitler became Germany's chancellor, pro-Nazi university students celebrated the nascent Third Reich by organizing public book burnings in 34 German towns and cities. These ceremonial destructions of quote-unquote un-German texts, often accompanied by parades, concerts, and speeches, were carefully documented by Nazi officials and are now symbolic of the country's descent into fascism. Some of the core images associated with the Holocaust show piles of books smoldering in the streets of Berlin, and the new regime's antipathy for Jewish authors like Heinrich Heine and Max Brod. Brod? I don't know that one. Is now well known. But another category of literature that perished in the book burnings, troves of research on sexuality, goes largely unnoticed today. Yeah, it's not really covered much in, like, the historical coverage because, a lot of that information and research was destroyed. But yeah, this is nothing new. You have to start by indoctrinating kids into having no understanding of the actual science behind this stuff in order to fill that void with misinformation. Jesus Christ, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. What, is my place haunted? With AP Psychology no longer an option, OCPS schools are, quote-unquote, working to identify alternative options for your child's schedule, the message said. Other Central Florida districts did not immediately respond to questions about their plans for AP Psychology. Cassie Pelelis, an Education Department spokeswoman, said other quote-unquote advanced course providers, such as the International Baccalaureate program, sorry, that's a... When I realized what that word was, I was like, oh, okay, I know how to pronounce that, but it does not pronounce the way it is spelled. I'm sorry, that's just one of those words you just sight read, Bachelorette program had no issue with offering a college-level psychology course in Florida, and that the College Board should do the same. The department didn't ban the course, Politis said in an email. The course remains listed in America's Course Code Directory for the 2023 to 2024 school year. We encourage the College Board to stop playing games with Florida students and continue to offer the course and allow teachers to operate accordingly. So they're asking the College Board to stop playing games in trying to ban this. Like, you're playing games here, is what you're doing. You're just trying to, like, get a political win, essentially. This is really fucked. Are those Wojaks? Hold on, chat. In the image that they used for this article, I need confirmation. Did these kids draw Wojaks? I'm almost certain those are Wojaks that these kids drew and that are up on the wall now. I'm pretty certain these are Wojaks. Nah, I don't think so. I would not be surprised if Zoomers nowadays, when they draw like something in a classroom, they draw Wojaks. It would not surprise me. They're just white. My brain has been poisoned by the internet, dude. That teacher looks a lot like a teacher I had, though. Anyway. Therefore, we advise Florida districts not to offer AP Psychology until Florida reverses their decision and allows parents and students to choose to take the full course. The College Board runs the 40-course AP program, which aims to offer high school students introductory college courses and a chance to earn college credit. AP Psychology has been offered in the state since 1993. According to the College Board, the Education Department told school superintendents they could offer AP Psychology only if lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity were removed. But the College Board said those are parts of the class, and if deleted, the course will not be able to carry the AP designation. So basically, they can still have the AP Psychology class if they get rid of the gender and sexual identity stuff, but it won't count for any college credit because they won't be learning like what you need to learn. Like, it's just, they'll be receiving a lesser education, and so it won't count for that credit, so it'll be a waste of time class, so nobody will take it because it won't count for anything. Like, this is just genuinely purely evil and mask off on the part of the Republicans. There's really not much else to say about it. Like, Jesus Christ. How many Zoomers do you think are going to be radicalized by this? By the easiest AP class, the easiest fucking credits you could get being taken from them because of conservative culture war shit. This isn't going to change the fact that they're going to have classmates and friends who are trans. This isn't going to cut off their access to trans messaging in media. The Republicans are desperate to either stop Zoomers from voting when they become voter age, or to brainwash them into voting Republican before they become voting age, because they know if this batch of young people hits voting age with the progressive views they currently hold, it is over for them. They are in a mad panic. If you're wondering why the Republicans have been more mask off than ever lately, it's because they know their time is short. This new generation of young people is not going to allow the Republicans to be viable going into the future. In a couple decades, we very well may be looking at an America where there is a what the Democrats are now party and a left-wing party. And what the Democrats are now would be considered the conservative party. We very well may achieve that within a couple decades just based on the viability, just by people's voting habits. Younger people are just getting radicalized younger and younger and younger. Watch any Zoomer content on TikTok or whatever, and it's all about how fucked the economy is for Gen Z. So many Zoomers are just so excited to be able to vote and fuck over the old boomer Republicans that have destroyed their future. They're very aware of these concepts. A lot of them are. A surprising amount are. So, I don't know. I don't think this is going to end well for Republicans. But in the meantime, I think it's important to talk about, as this is one of the most vile things the right has done. Well, not one of the most vile, but pretty up there, I'd say. Pretty up there. How do you guys like that segment? Feel like it came out pretty good. Good segment. It was good. You guys liked it? All right, guys. I've got one more segment planned for y'all. Arthur is not Buster. Thank you for the $5 super chat over on YouTube. It's very kind of you. Said, I heard that leprosy was rising in Florida as well. Based. More lepers in Florida? Do you mean leopards or lepers? I always mix those up. I'm sorry. One more, let's go. Hell yeah. Remember, guys, your likes, comments, donations, all that good stuff are always appreciated. Hell, you can even sub and gift subs my website. No matter what support you send my way, I really do appreciate it. Lepers.
celebrates.
Did you guys get spoiled a bit by the video auto-playing? Did you guys get a little spoiled there? Alright. No? Okay. Y'all know what to do when I say action, right? 3, 2, 1. Action. So lately I've been talking a lot about these grifters on the right that have been dominating YouTube as of late, who basically do nothing but talk about how the next popular thing that's coming out is going to be woke and bad and it's going to fail, and they upload like 1,000 videos about the thing. They milk a bunch of money off of people who aren't going to watch the movie or show or whatever it might be, hate watching the movie sort of through their videos. It's a very common thing. You see people like No Bullshit, Mahler, Critical Drinker. They become very big in doing this. Like, there was also, The Quartering is very big in this sphere and does a lot of those videos. Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic. They're all the same. They're all just a bunch of grifting hacks. And they lie. That's the thing. They don't just, like, complain about thing being woke. Now they've started to evolve their criticisms to be attempts at actual movie review criticism. But it's always bad, and sometimes straight up lies. Mahler isn't exactly anti-woke, though. Guys. Let me Google EFAP, and let's look at some of the guests that they tend to have on EFAP. They tend to bring on... Oh, here, there's like an art. There's like an entire art that draws it together. Of all the people that appear on EFAP as like whatever. So you've got PSA Sitch, the Nazi ER guy who did the Gems video where he JQs in his anime reviews that PewDiePie shouted out. I think this is Teal Deer, Mahler, Fringy. I don't know if he's cringe or not, but I mean, being in the sphere. Rags, but ironically cross-dressing, ironically, Heels versus Babyface, who has baby rage meltdowns over there being black people in games. Geeks and Gamers, who has baby rage meltdowns over there being black people in games. JXE for some reason. Don't know who this is, I think this is like Dishonored Wolf, who's also like one of those cringe heads. Nerdrotic. Like basically the people who come on here range from like just random gamer bros to full-on, like, neo-Nazis. Wait, where is JXE on this? Right here, that's JXE. JXE is friends with these people, which is really, really weird, considering, like, they range from Nazi to, like, just chud. You got Critical Drinker. Did I miss anybody else that I recognize? I don't think I recognize anyone else here. I think that's the whole lineup. Yeah, and of course, yeah, the Nazi ER guy. So yeah, like, I'm sorry, but they are just a gaggle of degenerates. Other than JXE. I like JXE, and hopefully they realize they're surrounded by retards. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, though, I have been disappointed by the lack of broader mainstream content dismantling these very dishonest, circle-jerky hate videos. But recently, a channel called Pillar of Garbage has started to get pretty damn big and popular within the... JXE is a bit sussy? Nah, JXE... Listen, as far as takes and beliefs, I've never heard JXE have a bad take, other than, like, I guess I don't have a problem with those creators. Would be the only take I have an issue with from JXE. But, like, from everything... JXE's had some of the best criticism and takedowns of Hassan, I'd say, as well, which is pretty damn good. Like, yeah, just overall, like, besides those associations, JXE is not sussy. I don't know what you're talking about. Regardless, though, here's the thing. There's a channel that I've started to watch a lot lately. I really enjoy it. It's called Pillar of Garbage, and I feel that I should send some support their way because, as it turns out, apparently I have almost as many, if not... Wait, how many? I have more subscribers than Pillar of Garbage? Yeah, I have more subscribers than Pillar of Garbage. Which is crazy because these videos get a lot of views, Pillar of Garbage's videos, but somehow I have more subscribers than them despite their videos being as good as they are. So, with that said, I'm going to encourage as many of you as possible to go over to Pillar of Garbage's channel and go subscribe, please. Here, actually, I'm going to link you the very video that we're going to be watching today about the Critical Drinkers review of Barbie. Damn, I put the timestamp version in there. Listen, I pre-watched the video a little bit, like halfway through, okay? Don't give me shit for pre-watching to halfway through. I tell you guys if I pre-watch. But I wanted to watch the rest of this on stream with you guys, because I also did get a few recommendations to watch this on stream, so I only watched to around, like, 6 minutes in or so. With that said, though, Pillar of Garbage made a video about the Critical Drinkers review of Barbie. I don't really remember much from what I watched of it, because to be honest, I was watching another video, or not watching another video, I was playing a game while listening to it. So I practically haven't seen it, because I genuinely don't remember much from this video, but I haven't even seen the Critical Drinkers review of Barbie, and my goal here is not to just react to the Pillar of Garbage's video, but to commentate on it and add to Pillar of Garbage's arguments, because I love Pillar of Garbage's videos. They make great arguments. Can we just say Garbage Pillar? I don't know. We'll call Pillar of Garbage Pillar for short. I love Pillar's videos. I think they're really, really good. And they make really good arguments and put into words a lot of arguments that I otherwise don't think I could have on the spot. However, I have things I want to add on top of it, and I want to direct people, like new people, to Pillar's channel. So, go send some support, go like, go comment, go subscribe over there, and let's check out this video, because I want to see the Critical Drinker get torn a new one, and maybe even assist a little, you know? A little bit of assisting in tearing open the Critical Drinker's new hole.
Is Barbie garbage? Barbage, if you will. Was it sold to audiences under false pretenses? And if so, is there a danger here? According to a recent video from
I should mention, I have not seen Barbie yet. I have not seen this movie yet. I need to find me a bad bitch to take to the movie theater to watch Barbie with. I haven't found any yet, so I have not seen Barbie yet. Just hasn't happened. I heard it's good, though. Spoilers, Zan? I don't care.
Everyone's favorite YouTuber, the Critical Drinker, the answer to those questions is an emphatic yes. The truth, though, isn't quite so simple, and in fact, that video says a good deal more about the drinker and his critical practice than you might have thought. Join me as we wade through a truly baffling review and investigate the way the drinker continues to mislead his audience, the way contentious narratives are invoked to disguise poor criticism, and the way this video illuminates the fundamental dilemma at the heart of the Critical Drinker's channel. Let's get into it. The drinker's video starts, and
well, a good example of what they do is that they start the hate brigade before the show or movie even drops. You've noticed that, right? Like right now, there's this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles project that's coming out, and like the Quartering, Keemstar, Critical Drinker, all these grifters are claiming that they made what's his name gay. They're like their mentor. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. You all know. Chat. Splinter, yes. They're claiming that they made Splinter gay, which is just not true. Like, they literally did not make Splinter gay in the show. They just, like, it just started from a 4chan thread, and then that spread around as, like, a rumor, and these people continue to repeat it as if it came from any form of an official source, but also now we know it's not the case, but they still say it. So they will literally just lie. For example, they said that Abby in The Last of Us was trans. I've literally told people recently, Abby from The Last of Us, the muscle lady from the trailers, is not transgender, and they're surprised because they had been just fed nothing but like hate coverage of the game that was from transphobes and right-wingers that had convinced them, yes, okay, that's the trans character, when that's just a blatant lie. The right just lied about that, and then the game came out, and they kept lying about it because none of them played the game, and they don't know that Lev is the trans character. He's a trans man, well, trans boy, I guess you'd say, because he's a kid, and Abby protects him like fucking Kratos. So, yeah, and still to this day, Laura Bailey receives harassment. She was the mocap and voice artist of Abby from The Last of Us, and she still gets death threats and harassment to this day. And much of that harassment and death threats come from the audience of people like the Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers. They rally up and build these hate brigades that then go and harass the actors. And what they love to do is make videos about how the actors are woke and the actors are awful. And since the strikes happened, they love talking about how the actors and writers don't deserve pay. They're actively demonizing the actors and writers and people who worked on the projects now, saying they shouldn't be striking, they should lose the strike, they don't deserve equal pay, and saying that the modern Hollywood writers should be paid less and that they're actually overpaid. So they're just like actually evil grifters. They basically just peddle hate and evil for immense profit.
It ends with the accusation that Warner deliberately misled the public as to the character of their film.
You guys really pulled off a miracle with this one, successfully duping all of us, including me, into believing that Barbie was going to be just another colourful, light-hearted, easygoing family comedy.
There's no way on earth that the Critical Drinker did not do any negative coverage of Barbie before it came out. There's no way.
This is from the trailer, by the way.
You guys ever think about dying?
Wait, that's him. That's him talking about the trailer. That's him before the movie came out talking about the trailer, by the way. I'm sorry, I misinterpreted that. That was him prior to the movie's release speaking, saying he got tricked, reacting to the trailer. So yeah, he did shit talk the movie before it came out. Good to know.
Anyway, the drinker really hits this idea hard, hammering it home near the end in a way he doesn't often tend to do.
Barbie really is a wolf in sheep's clothing, tricking people into watching it by promising one thing and delivering something very different.
This is a very interesting cope, because remember, people like the Critical Drinker rely on seeming like they're part of the silent majority who's finally standing up against this woke Hollywood takeover. But that doesn't really vibe well with the insane box office numbers this movie is getting. So how do you keep up the go woke, go broke motto when it's so obviously not true here? Well, you say that the movie tricked its audience into watching it. You say that all the people who are going to watch it are being tricked and that they'll all hate it and that any positive reviews you see are faked, or bots or shills or whatever thing they'll come up with. There'll be a whole conspiracy theory about how, despite being a box office success and having very good reviews and people loving this movie, somehow it was a failure and it went broke because it went woke. They do this with all these movies. They do it with Captain Marvel, the new Star Wars movies. Literally everything they do this with. And once in a blue moon, they're right. And a movie they say that is going to go broke goes broke. But if you say that every time a new thing comes out, then like, yeah, eventually you'll, by chance, say a thing's gonna fail and it'll fail. Yeah, that does tend to happen.
And I guess that's the thing that really struck me about this film. A lot of parents will have been duped into taking their daughters along to watch this movie, probably expecting the kind of breezy, colourful, family-friendly movie that was advertised, only to find them...
So the nearest thing the Drinker's video has to a thesis...
Well, it doesn't really... Okay, I've seen the trailer for this movie. It doesn't really come off as a kids movie or a family movie. It feels like this was made for like adults who grew up with Barbie as like a brand and product, who want like a little bit like of a raunchy adult take, not raunchy, but like more of an adult take, like a little bit more of a cynical adult take on the property. Because if it was just like a Barbie movie, it would be a movie for like literal children and little girls and stuff. But they wanted to make one that would appeal to adults too, so they made it meta and like cynical, from at least what I understand of the movie.
Or a through line, the string from which his usual motley assortment of nitpicks hang, is this idea that Warner pulled a fast one, tricked families into the cinema before blasting them with an agenda-driven misandrist adult film. So before we dig into the significance of the Drinker taking this angle, let's just check. Is he right? Shit, sorry, I don't know how that sound file got in the mix. Is he right? Well, no. Let's talk about the trailers. I can't play them whole, copyright's a beach, but hey, to make sure I'm not misrepresenting them in my discussion, the one teaser and 2 trailers Warner dropped for this bad boy that formed the backbone of the film's pre-release PR are linked in the description, so give them a watch now if you fancy. The initial teaser, the only real look at this film the world was given until like 3 months back, was, well, it's the Space Odyssey referencing opening sequence, played, I think, in full.
The right lost their shit over this ad. I remember when this ad dropped on Twitter. This ad came out and like Twitter blew the fuck up over this ad. Right-wingers were losing their shit because they thought it was like woke because it was encouraging little girls to break their dolls or so. I forget what the complaint was from them, but they started the anti-woke like Barbie hate train like years ago. Yeah, Barbie was made by Mattel, not Hasbro. That is true. And the funny thing as well is that I've shot multiple guns also made by Mattel.
Because you know what kids love, you know what those little guys just go nuts for, you know what gets them hyped about going to the pictures? Stanley Kubrick references. Those little bastards eat that shit up. But surely that's not the whole teaser. Well, no, of course not. There's also a 5-second montage of random clips closing it out. So, you know, at this point, is Barbie setting itself up as a lightweight—
I will say, the setting of this movie is just Palm Springs. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, the setting of this movie is just Palm Springs in real life. If you go to Palm Springs, it will just be the setting of this movie.
Kids flick, or is it maybe signaling it'll be a more thoughtful and adult affair? You'll have to decide that one, I guess. And those random clips focus on the cast, show off Margot—
like, unironically, that is Palm Springs right there.
I guess. Those random clips focus on—
That is just Palm Springs. If you've been there, then you know. Barbie is from Malibu. That's in, like, LA, right? Not too far, but also this is just what Palm Springs looks like. Actually, Palm Springs looks like Nuketown. Can I show you guys what Palm Springs looks like from the sky? This is where I lived for 3 years, dude. I mean, this is kind of a weird angle of not the whole city, but, you know, it'll do. Look at this Nuketown-ass shit that I lived in for 3 years. That's a golf course, like, gated community there, I guess. Just in the middle of the fucking desert and surrounded by snowy mountains. Crazy shit, dude. Anyway, that was quite the stun lock, but seriously, Palm Springs, like, it looks a lot like this setting. It just gives me that vibe. I'm excited to watch the movie. I do like the aesthetic of it being like a blown up, like, playset type plastic thing. I don't know. There's something about it that's like kind of liminal and cool. I like it.
The cast, show off Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu, and plenty more. Emphasis on celebrity, on a sort of star power adults care about, was a staple tactic. Maybe the staple tactic of the film's publicity. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that doesn't sink this guy's thesis. Maybe the only thing kids love more than a Kubrick reference is recognizing their favorite SNL alumni. Yeah, anyway, the rest of these trailers gesture toward a—
yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of the right-wing insanity around this movie is essentially just based on the idea that this movie's made for kids and that this will brainwash kids into believing woke things. So a lot of their argumentation's just, this is for kids, this is for kids, this is for kids, and it's like, no, it's PG-13, it wasn't made for kids, it's not a family movie, it's not like, no.
A similar direction. I think that's fair to say. I mean, you might look at the trailers and see the sex jokes and the 80s folk song sing-along. You might see a project driven more by star power than by its somewhat passé IP. You might see Barbie say she's been thinking about death. You might see a film, the premise of which isn't light-hearted, easygoing Barbie funtime yay, but is instead very clearly a complication or subversion of the light-hearted, easy—
I was really hoping we'd see more conservatives losing their shit, like they do about any women in a movie with Barbie with this. Like, I was hoping in a trailer or something there'd be one frame where it's like she's turning and her jaw's like as she's turning or something, and they'd like take that frame and try to push this idea that they've uglified Barbie. I was really hoping they'd take that angle so we could like watch as the right, and they would do that. They would if they could get like a single frame. But then they would at the same time be shit-talking the actress who plays Harley Quinn in those new Suicide Squad movies, who like the internet has been simping for years now. So it'd just be a losing battle. So they had to just abandon that general like they would have gone down that road, but then they'd have to try to call Margot Robbie mid, and that's just Zan, you haven't seen that? Wait, are they actually trying to call Margot Robbie mid? They're actually doing that? Dude, on Twitter, people are calling her mid. I've been cut off by a significant I have been cut off from a significant amount of the world's retardation simply by being permanently banned from Twitter.
Going Barbie fun time, yay, you might expect, when hearing the phrase Barbie movie. A film that looks to be family friendly, sure, but not necessarily family oriented. Not a kids film, but a film kids can enjoy alongside their parents. You might look to the trailers and see all that, or you might not see it. The drinker certainly didn't, or at least he claims not to have. But on balance, I'm going to say yes. That big idea he opens with is pretty clearly a misrepresentation of the film's PR, and I don't anticipate a lot of pushback on that. If that's granted, then yeah, bro looks like a clown, but more importantly, great news! We can proceed with the video and get on our way toward the conclusion. That payoff's gonna be a doozy. But here's the thing, the quality of and intentions behind the rest.
The big issue with arguing with videos like this, not Pillar of Garbage's video, we love Pillar of Garbage. The problem with arguing with people like the Critical Drinkers content is because they always start their argument, their line of argumentation from a false premise that you can't stop. You can't operate on like arguing against the other arguments they make because it's all based on a false premise. So I'll argue against one of this guy's videos and he'll start by saying something like Barbie is a children's movie. Okay, we can argue against that point. And then he'll say because it's a children's movie, it's bad for kids to watch because of the woke messaging. And it's like, okay, so now we've got to argue about the woke messaging and whether or not that's bad for kids to watch, but also, I have to remind you all again, this isn't a kid's movie. And then he'll continue to build all of his arguments on that premise that it's a kid's movie, and that's why all of these other things are bad. And I have to keep on retreading the same, remember though, it's not a kid's movie argument over and over again. And that's literally every video I cover from these people. Is me having to repeat the same debunk of their initial argument they built everything else on over and over again, because what they said initially is so far from reality, I can't even pretend to engage with that fantasy in order to argue against what they're saying in their realm, you know?
Of the drinkers review also play a role in that conclusion, so really sorry, I know you guys hate it when I go through a drinker video and pluck it apart, but it looks like we've got to do at least a little of this. One bit I really like is here.
The important jobs are done by the Barbies, and the Kens just kind of exist. They've got no inherent value, they contribute nothing, they have no power or say in how their society is run, and they're basically looked down on as a bit silly and irrelevant by the Barbies. Oh my goodness, what could the writers possibly be trying to tell us about their views on men?
What we see here is...
I was actually on edge there. I was wondering if we're actually going to get a good point from the Critical Drinker. So my understanding of how this movie handles gender politics is with sort of a reversal of the... At the start of the movie, I guess, a reversal of the traditional real-world gender sort of expectation, right? So in real life, generally... the man is considered the more competent, the more popular, the more well-known, the more famous and cool or whatever it may be. And the woman, who does the same thing, would get less credit, right? At the beginning of Barbie, my understanding is, at least in the case of Barbie, things are quite reversed. Barbie's the famous one. Everyone knows Barbie's name, but it's always Barbie and Ken. right? So he's the underdog. He's the one who's overshadowed by Barbie, by a woman. He's a man overshadowed by a woman, as opposed to the more common real-life scenario of man overshadowing woman. And so the movie, from my understanding, in large part, is about Ken's character development into not seeing that not seeing it that way, essentially. Viewing it as being a hierarchy of, like, who matters more is toxic and self-destructive and bad for everyone else around you and doesn't lead to anything good. So valuing yourself because you actually love yourself and want to be happy and do what's best for you without hurting anybody else is, like, a good thing. I haven't seen the movie, but this is the general message I put together. And it does that by starting the movie with a premise that is a reverse of a very common instance that happens in real life, where the, woman overshadows the man in the movie. The opposite would be generally true in real life. It's not that the writers think that's the ideal world, it's just the world they created to tell a story in.
The drinker brushing right up against meaningful criticism and then blowing right past it. I'll expound. Let's put our thinking caps on. In a film about femininity and
Barbie Land is like that because the world is played by girls and the Kens are meant to be side companions to the Barbie's main character? Yeah.
About female existence under patriarchy, this idea the film plays with now and then, that Kens are eye candy, are peripheral, that they don't get an equal slice of the pie, what could this mean? Could it be a tongue-in-cheek inversion of our familiar gender politic? Could the point here be a sort of defamiliarization?
No, it has to mean this is what the writers want. The woke writers want to make the world actually like this. Where it's all girl bosses and men are not allowed to have any say in anything and they're seen as incompetent. That's what the woke writers in Hollywood want. It's so obvious.
Of the role women are often still forced into, flipping those traits, eye candy, peripheral, subordinate, back onto male characters in order to highlight how and why society's foisting of these upon anyone is a problem? Or could the fact that, regardless of context, men are on the bottom rung of the ladder, are subservient, simply mean film thinks men bad? The creators hate men, and that's that. The drinker hitches his cart to the latter option, and that's both kinda funny and a—
It's for money. There's just a massive audience of people online who aren't going to watch the big blockbuster movie coming out. Like, I think this is actually much more of what motivates the hate for this movie than even conservative politics. There are a lot of people online who are not going to watch Barbie or Oppenheimer. They're just not going to watch it. They're not going to get out to go see it when it's in theaters. Maybe they'll watch it when there's like a piratable copy available online. Probably by then they'll forget about it. Maybe they'll watch it when it's streaming. Probably by then they'll forget about it. However, everyone's talking about this movie. Everyone is. Everyone has an opinion on the movie. And so just saying you haven't seen it and you don't have an opinion on it almost seems like that doesn't make you special. That doesn't make you a good internet user arguing with people and getting your opinion out there. Like, people are compelled to make other people agree with them online via argumentation. It's just a thing we all feel the need to do. And so there's a whole audience of people online who want to know enough about the movie to seem like they've seen the movie, but to be able to have a contrarian opinion on it. Or just any opinion on it to make it seem like they've seen it, or just to be clued in on what's going on because they're not going to watch it. And that's where you get people like the critical drinker who will literally spend weeks up until a thing comes out, shit-talking the piece of media, even though it hasn't come out and you can't know whether or not it's good. And then he'll live react to the piece of media and shit-talk it the whole way through. As though oh, look, I was right about how bad it's going to be. And then he'll make multiple videos, as many as he possibly can put out, about how he was right about that piece of media being bad after the fact. Everybody who gets involved with EFAP, except JXC, does the same shit. They're all grifters. They're all grifting pieces of shit, and it's pathetic. It really, really is. I know for a fact that a fan of Critical Drinker and EFAP said that they wouldn't care for a specific media like Star Wars unless EFAP covers it and only trust them, even when EFAP and Critical Drinker misrepresent or even lie. Oh, there's like entire subreddits dedicated to covering this stuff. There's it's actually really good. Let me see if I can bring it up. I think it's called like Saltier Than Crate or something. which is like a Star Wars planet from the new movies. It's all salt and shit. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sure I'll be able to find some instances of these people just being straight up lying. Yep, here you go. Here's a good example. We've got Keemstar, who has fallen for the not true, unironically fake Splinter is gay thing about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, or whatever. Splinter is not gay in it. This is just made up. They couldn't find anything woke about it, so they had to fabricate this. So I guess movie bad because they made character gay, but not really. Yeah. Oh, here you've got you've got the active fact check, it seems, the quartering. So they made Splinter gay in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie because ... of course. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. The tweet is false and misleading. There is no evidence that Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is gay. But that tweet won't go anywhere. He got the engagement, he spread the lies, and now he's primed his audience for the inevitable hate content he will make on that media, and he will farm a lot of clicks off of it. What else do we have? I like scrolling through the subreddit and finding little compilations they'll make of these people just straight up changing their opinion after the fact. Oh, here's a good one. The timeline of Shadiversity versus Angry Joe. 1. Shad made an idiotic review of Barbie. 2. Angry Joe laughed at Shad's thumbnails in his own Barbie review. 3. Shad made a video calling Joe out. 4. Joe defended himself via comments. 5. Shad makes another video calling Joe out again. So yeah, Angry Joe made like a funny call-out post in Shadiversity's meltdown over the Barbie movie. Because one thing you gotta know... Oh, that's your... Holy shit, it is your post, Triple S! Wait, Triple S 034. Yeah, that's you. Look. This is you. That's you. That's you. This is a good post. I'm upvoting this post. Look at this shit. Good job putting this together, Triple S. What are the chances you'd be in chat? Literally, I'm just scrolling through a random subreddit, and I bring up a post, and like, I read one, and the person who wrote it just so happens to be in chat. That's fucking crazy, dude. That's wild. What a small internet we live in. Love your stuff, bro? Hell yeah. Love your stuff, too, clearly. You've got, like, Shadiversity's original cringe-ass thumbnail, Barbie the movie, man-hating trash. Then you've got Angry Joe and his friends, like, making fun of Shadiversity's insane meltdown schizo coverage. And then you've got Shadiversity's first response. Then you've got Angry Joe's comment making fun of him that I'm not going to read because too many words. And then you've got another response from Shadiversity because he's mad and he needs to, like, farm as much content as he can off of this. He needs that money. What else do we got? Here's an interesting thumbnail. From Sael. Woke, fat, ugly, ESG. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm forgetting if that is a thing that I know. I'm pretty sure this is referencing that fighting game where there was like a 16-year-old character who there was like a panty shot of in, and they changed that because why would they have that in the game? And then the right got really mad about it because they couldn't look up at the panties of the 16-year-old girl anymore. And then there's this screenshot of Aloy from Horizon that they like to use, where I guess the light makes her face look round, so they say she's fat. And then you've got this one screen cap of the character from Fable, I think it is, that they've been losing their shit about saying is ugly, and I don't know who this is or what this is about. Yeah, it really is just meltdowns over not being able to fap to video games, I guess. Oh, this is a cool fucking post. Hold on. Eras of YouTube essayists and ranters. Holy shit, this goes hard. Wait, this is actually a really good breakdown. The OG era of 2005 to 2010. Angry video game nerd, irate gamer, nostalgia critic, game dude, Rmake21, pissed off video gamer, Yahtzee, Proto John SA, Angry Joe, Pat the NES punk. You can just go down this list. Just literally OG classic names. Like, a lot of these are ingrained into the childhoods and minds of many people. Many of these content creators are very much still around. But, like, notice how there's, like, none of these people are known as, like, right-wing crazy... Yeah, I mean, you've got Nostalgia Chick here, who's Lindsay Ellis. She became political, but she left the internet after the woke scolds got her. Most of these people, other than, like, Nostalgia Critic, are not known as, like, crazy right-wing grifting chuds, because none of these people started, by the way, back when YouTube was, like, big and profitable. Even Nate Talks to You, who was a conservative, is now a lefty. So, yeah. Then we get to the 2010 to 2013 era. Holy shit. Yeah, iJustine, Ray William Johnson, Jenna Marbles, Vsauce, Vinesauce, Video Game Donkey, Rebel Taxi, based, Red Letter Media, Darkside Phil, not based, Balrog, Jimmy Wetzel, Clemps, Alpha Omega Sin. You'll have seen a lot of these people. This is like when YouTube really started to get big. This is like where all of the currently today, like, established name brand, these are still around to this day. The Yogscast, like, Some Ordinary Gamers, they started back then. They are still big today, right? But then if you look at today, or if you get to, like, the edgy drama/edgy era of 2013 to 2017, you can see how things changed. The largest figures that were doing that type of content were, like, Filthy Frank, Pyrocynical, How To Basic, iDubbbz, Max Mofo, Rice Gum, Leafy is Here, Keemstar, Anything for Views, H3H3, Grade A, Under A, Scarce, Dolan Dark, Froggy Fresh, Sam Hyde, Nafuckers, Sargon of Akkad, Thunderfoot, Chris Raygun, Shoe on Head, Ben Shapiro, Armored Skeptic, Blair White, and Angry Grandpa. You gotta see how, like, things kind of were a little weird back in 2013 to 2017, where these people really started to, like, blow up and get big. And then we move to the modern era of 2017 and onward, and it's just this mix of different people. Many of them just being Twitch streamers and stuff, a lot of them being chud content creators. Dr. Disrespect has come out as transphobic and homophobic. Sneeko, KSI's, I'm pretty sure, right wing. We got Vasha Destiny there. Dream, Tommy in it. It's a really weird, like, mix of people. This era of politics online has gotten weird. Really, really weird. I like that chart. That kind of helps you to understand how the online people talking about things space has changed. You'll notice you start to see a higher concentration of right-wing grifters on that chart the longer into YouTube's lifespan you get, where YouTube started to become known as a thing you could make a living off of. That's when the grifters started to come in, when they started to realize it could be easy money.
A huge missed opportunity to actually say something halfway insightful. See, symbolically speaking, the way Barbie Land works is twofold. The subordination of the Kens shows the drawbacks of our currently existing gender imbalances, while the Barbie's successes show the heights women could achieve were these imbalances not a factor. Yes,
I'm not gonna lie, someone with a foot fetish definitely did at least some of the cinematography for this movie. Ain't no way that's not the case. Did Quentin Tarantino direct this movie?
is an inequality here, but it's one being used to make a point about equality. And crucially, something the drinker seems to miss later on as well, Barbie Land is not the film's recommendation. It's not a blueprint for gender utopia. It isn't reality, it can never be, and it was never supposed to be. Even in universe, it was explicitly created for a purpose. That purpose being the inspiration of girls, to show them what they could do and be personally. That is the idea here, but well, that concept is a little messy. Given the Kens, Barbies, and Allens alike are seemingly endowed with some degree of sapience, or at least the potential for it, Barbie Land's limited opportunities for Kens is a bit troubling. The film kinda hangs a lantern on this with the closing voiceover, but lampshading an issue isn't the same as resolving that issue. So yes, this would, I think, be grounds for a valid
One of the Kens looks at Barbie's feet with binoculars. Bro!
critique of, if not the film's ideas,
And there's this shot from
then
the
at least
trailer,
the way those
obviously.
ideas are delivered. But you see the issue, right? To get to this knot, you have to actually think about the film, about the things that make you uneasy, about why they make you uneasy before you hit record. And honestly, I'm probably giving the guy too much credit by assuming any of that even registered with him, that he didn't just woke spot the surface level dynamic of man being dominated by women and call it a day. After all,
Well, the thing is, they're not trying to do any actual legitimate media analysis. Their goal is simply to get a 10 to 20 minute video out of them ranting about whatever new thing that's popular and is really in the search engine algorithm, calling it woke, right? And I feel as though a lot of these people have been given this weird air of sincerity by the fact that they do these insanely long EFAP streams where they take apart insert thing being woke or whatever. And they do a 12-hour takedown of a movie, and it's maybe a third of the criticism is it's woke, but the other 2/3 are random other arbitrary bullshit, right? And I feel like that lends them a lot of seeming authenticity about how much, they're so passionate about their hate for this media. They can't be grifting and lying about it. They must genuinely hate this stuff. But what they don't realize is when you do a 12-hour long live stream about complaining about a popular movie, you make a lot of money. When you upload 12 videos about a popular movie and how it's bad and woke, you make a lot of money. And that's their only motivation.
Broken clock is right twice a day, and by that same logic, if you let a half-cut fool rant for a couple of years about dozens of films, statistically he is gonna bump into some real problems eventually. That doesn't mean he'll actually critique them, it doesn't even mean he's able to. Just that, yeah, he'll end up mouthing off in their general vicinity before going on to shout at more clouds. Moving on.
One of the things that I found really interesting was, I really liked the Rings of Power show. From Amazon Prime. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I just appreciate it for what it is. There's definitely gonna be a to the fucking page remake, or not remake, but film adaptation of the Silmarillion one day. So if what I'm getting is enjoyable, then I'm not gonna complain about it. And I liked Rings of Power quite a bit. I feel as its thing, as sort of a fan fiction based on the appendices of the Silmarillion, or not the Silmarillion, actually. I think it was just the Return of the King. Based on the appendices of the Silmarillion and Return of the King, or just Return of the King, correct me if I'm wrong, they did very, very well with what they had. I really liked the show, and something that was interesting to me is, I know plenty of people don't like it, but people like the Critical Drinker and a lot of these right-wing people who are covering the show being bad, and, they throw in it's woke, they're virtue signaling, and then go on about ranting about other stuff about why it's bad, but it's clear they're trying to appeal to that right-wing audience with everything they're criticizing in, the thumbnails and titles. And I started to notice that they couldn't even give the show props on certain things that were all right, now I know you're full of shit. For example, the music. So, all right, the music from the God of War games, the two new God of War games, God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, literally award-winning. Some of the best music you'll have ever heard in a fucking game. The music is phenomenal, right? Hypers in chat if you think the music from the new God of War games is great. Think it's well composed, well performed? Does it make you feel emotion? Do you like it? I'm curious, chat. Cool, because The same guy did the music for Rings of Power. That same, like, award-winning composer and music guy, I forget what the term is, Bear McCreary, did the music for both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok and Rings of Power. And I heard multiple of these people, including Critical Drinker, I think, shit on the music as being uninspired and basic and bland. And it's like, no. If you've heard the soundtrack from the show, it's some of Bear McCreary's best work for sure. And it's like, when that's the level of scrutiny that the media is being met with, it's like, oh, so you're shitting on it for any list of cherry-picked and nitpicky reasons you can think of while mixing in the anti-woke shit, where you can, so that you can basically cover all the bases of people who are likely to be mad about this movie or show or whatever it may be. I saw it like a lot with Rings of Power.
This criticism is also a bit odd.
Like, one guy literally walks up to Barbie and slaps her in the ass in the middle of a crowded boardwalk, in broad daylight, in front of her boyfriends.
Go with me here. The real world in this film isn't all that real. Anyone who's seen the film will recall that things are often a little exaggerated. Or do Mattel executives regularly engage in high-octane car chases? Maybe that's an America thing. Viewers from LA, please do tell me the last time you saw Enon Kreitz gunning it down Pacific Avenue. Given this, it seems strange that this moment gets targeted by the realism police and something like the Mattel chase doesn't.
My favorite thing these guys will do is take an instance of a woman getting sexually harassed, groped, or something like that in a movie, and then, like, say, not only is it bad of the writers to depict men as evil and awful, but also the woman is bad for being rude to the guy, because actually what he did wasn't that bad. Have you seen that? Like, he does that a lot. Particularly, he did it in his She-Hulk review. Critical Drinker did. There's a scene where She-Hulk, not as She-Hulk, walks out of a bar, and there's some guys waiting outside that start catcalling her and commenting on, like, her body and shit in a really creepy way. And Critical Drinker says, and of course we get the obligatory evil men standing outside the bar acting like creeps, because this is how all men are, obviously. That's what these woke writers want you to believe, that men are so terrible. But honestly, what they did wasn't even that bad. She turns around and starts screaming at them and threatens them. They didn't do anything deserving of that when they just called out at her. It's like, he'll say, this is an awful thing, and the movie's depicting all men as doing this awful thing, but then says, but also this thing wasn't that awful, and catcalling women and sexually harassing them isn't that bad anyway. Like, that is unironically the line of argumentation he'll do. I've seen it. That's what he did in his She-Hulk video.
When public sexual assault is the thing that, actually happens sometimes. But, of course, the idea of an otherwise realistic world contorting itself to overstate the frequency of assault by evil men supports the spiteful hatred of men line the drink is pursuing, and by extension the corruptive leftist propaganda problem it implies, more than a recognition of this world's wider exaggerated realism would. So that recognition isn't given, because withholding it allows this narrative to continue forming. And this kind of thing makes up the body of the Drinker's video. Rapid-fire nitpicks that come and go just quick enough to hide the fact that most don't really work. For instance, he notes Barbies change depending on how their owners play with them, and then goes on to criticize this concept by listing things which are not their owners playing with them.
Do you have any idea how many Barbie dolls must get broken, or thrown in trash compactors, or set on fire, or eaten by family pets every single day?
Or take this reading the Drinker offers.
It's CinemaSins. By the way, a lot of these content creators got their start by dunking on people like CinemaSins and No Bullshit, believe it or not. Like Mahler, JXC, Critical Drinker, Rags, like all those people in the EFAP space, ironically enough, got their big viral starts, from my understanding, dunking on like No Bullshit and CinemaSins. But now they do the same shit? And they get really mad when you compare what they do to CinemaSins or No Bullshit. But they do the same thing. They've just put a new coat of paint on it. They were like culling off the old so they could have room to be the new.
You're a woman who wants to be a mother or a homemaker? Screw you, fascists!
If you're thinking, hang on, what about America Ferrera's character? Arguably the real heart of this film. What about the way she very clearly draws her strength, the strength that saves Barbie and Barbieland from motherhood? What about that already iconic line near the film's close? We mothers stand still so that our daughters can look back and see how far they've come. The way that sentiment and the film more widely celebrates the mother-daughter bond. If you're thinking about any of those things, stop thinking about them, I guess. If that's not enough, how about the way Drinker acts confused by the Barbie's quick subjugation?
Make me question how the supposedly intelligent, empowered and self-confident Barbies were so easily subjugated by Ken and the others. This is the kind of awkward little
Despite there being a line in the film which directly answers that question. Maybe he
Barbied on my oppen
the
until I
explanation,
heimer.
though, and elected to ignore it. You know, like an intelligent person would. And shockingly, some of these nitpicks are just outright untrue.
The real world and all the men in it are shown to be universally, irredeemably horrible. Because of course they are.
What about Duolingo Husband?
Well, there it is. The woke writers make every man in the movie irredeemably evil, but then he's going to go on to say, actually, though, the irredeemably evil things they do in the movie, such as, like, grabbing a girl's ass, aren't even that bad. She literally assaulted him over him just touching her. I'm sure he goes on to say some shit like that. That would not be out of branding for Critical Drinker.
He's just like me for real, King. What about him? Did I blink during a split-second shot of him kicking a dog or something? Turns out, if you accuse any of these guys of lying when they demonstrably are, a bunch of their buddies sick their goons on you, so at the risk.
Yeah, if you cover these guys' videos, they'll do like a 14-hour-long live stream in a big group call, and some of them will be like popular chud content creators that do just sort of like semi-right-wing media content, like what Mahler and Critical Drinker do. Some will be like full-on right-wing propagandist content creators, like Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers, and some will be full-on Nazis, like ER, and they'll just get into a big call together and like do a big response. They also did it with oh my god, do you guys want to see something funny? This never gets old. This image never gets old. Jenny Nicholson, well, I didn't like Joker. EFAP, responding to Jenny Nicholson's well, I didn't like Joker, 11 hours and 44 minutes. Mind you, if you don't like a movie that they stan, like, hardcore, they will literally respond to you for making a video about not liking the movie, and yet they get upset if you talk about the demonstrable lies and political motivations behind their videos and reviews and coverage of pieces of media.
Risk of that happening again. Gee, I'm noticing a trend. Look, I'm not going to mince my words. This is bad criticism. I don't just mean it's based on misleading or untrue observations, it's also just bad criticism, actively hostile to complex thought. Barbieland privileges Barbies? Wow, I guess that means the film wants us to oppress
This movie
men.
was made by a
New
foot
gender
fetishist,
roles
I'm
are
sorry.
adopted and abandoned quickly by both Kens and Barbies, following
guys,
their exposure to
that
LA
should
business
be-
patriarchy.
That should be what they go against.
Right, everybody, I thought the movie was pretty good.
This is my Critical Drinker impression, okay?
I thought the movie was pretty good, alright? But, they had a lot of that foot fetish shit in there, and I think that's pretty woke, pretty cringe if you ask me, and I don't like it. I want that out of the movie.
That would probably get more, including me, that would get me on the side of being against this movie. If they just started like a big culture war being against the foot shit in the movie. Zan Barbie is notorious for having fucked up feet. What? You've got to talk through your teeth for an optimal Critical Drinker impression.
You gotta talk through your teeth for a proper critical drinker impression.
He sounds a bit like that.
Isn't that an awkward little paradox? Wait, what's that? You're saying it's intentional, to point out the way gender is learned and the way patriarchy can seem attractive, even to the women and men it harms. No, sorry mate, don't care, those words are too big. The review portion of his video finishes with a ham-fisted attempt to apply the gender politic of Barbie Land to our reality and then to criticize the result, despite, again, that not being the point of Barbie Land. But this hostility to just thinking is made most apparent about midway through the drinker's video.
Barbie eventually finds the kid who plays with her, who turns out to be an asshole communist activist feminist that I think the movie wants us to empathise with, but fuck me, for the life.
This guy, one of the things that I love about the Critical Drinker is that him and his fans to this day maintain that he is not right-wing and that he is not politically motivated with these videos. That he is a centrist. That he is a free thinker, if you will. A critical a free drinker.
Life of me, I could not tell you why.
Let me help you out. Surprisingly, no. We're not really supposed to empathize with the girl who calls Barbie a fascist and makes her cry. Maybe the girl does raise a kind of valid point or two, but she does so in a really mean way, and that's bad. We're not supposed to be on her side. Yet. Because there's this cool thing called an arc she gets. Over the course of the film, by reconnecting with her mother, she begins to see the worth in Barbie, and the value of aspirational figures, just as Barbie sees that the kid has a point, that aspirational symbols aren't solutions in themselves, yada yada yada. We're supposed to like where she ends up, not where she starts, which is honestly a kinda mean.
You're expecting a grifter whose job is to lie about media, though, to like actually be honest about the character, because like, and I do, this is the one thing that I would add to Pillar of Garbage's criticisms of this guy. He makes videos for people that don't watch the media he's criticizing. That is the key point. His job is to essentially give a watered down, right-leaning recap of the movie, along with lots of random nitpicks and complaints, to farm views off of people who will never watch that movie or show to begin with. That is literally all he's doing. That's his motivation.
Spirited caricature of Zoomer leftism. But in a supremely telling moment, the drinker seems to have spotted that caricature, filtered it through the Hollywood is leftist and evil pipe he's got in his brain, and landed on the idea that we're supposed to like and agree with everything nasty the girl says simply because it's couched in a woke aesthetic. That slippage is amusing, and illustrates how thoughtless, how knee-jerk this critique is. Woke means we're supposed to like it, and it's unlikable, so film bad. There is no self-awareness here. Again, this is bad criticism. This is all bad criticism, but it doesn't matter. The opening of the drinker's video lays out that misrepresentation of the film's PR, but it does something else too. It very consciously and very jarringly inserts Barbie into the canon of hated woke objects.
Barbie?
Something that is hard to debunk is the fact that when conservatives make a video like this, they're making it, most of the audience is going to be pretty young, right? And having just a much less developed understanding of how the real world works, right? You'll notice this is pretty common with Andrew Tate fans, right? You'll see a lot of Andrew Tate fans talking about how Biden should pardon Andrew Tate. And he's cringe for not doing that. Andrew Tate is being held in Romania. That's not a thing that Biden could do. Which demonstrates to you that either they're lying about what they think the president can do, or they are genuinely so young and naive about the way the world functions, they don't even know that different countries have their own legal systems, police, and courts, and prisons, and everything. They think there's just like a world government of the Matrix, I guess, that's what Andrew Tate taught them, that controls everything. And that same way, when Critical Drinker tells his audience of most likely 15 to 17-year-old chuds that this new movie is actually not doing well, and it's fooled millions of people into watching it, They'll believe that because they think the idea of millions of people being fooled into watching a movie and then getting overwhelmingly positive reviews because of, like, bots and shills, their audience will believe that. They'll believe that all of the positive press about this movie is actually just smoke and mirrors and isn't real because they don't know how the movie industry and releases actually work. They'll believe a YouTuber saying actually Disney bought all these tickets to inflate artificially the box office numbers. Like, they'll just say that and their fans will believe that. It's like, but that doesn't make any money for them. Okay. I miss when Andrew Tate was just the I hate Star Wars guy. Yeah, that's how he started. He was the guy who's getting dunked on for saying if you've ever seen Star Wars, you're bad and he'll never watch it or whatever.
Barbie is like the deformed, mutated rage child of Captain Marvel, Ghostbusters 2016, and She-Hulk.
God, they're so
I'm an expert
mad.
at controlling my anger because I do it.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
It seems a very transparent move, serving to designate Barbie as a battleground in the war against wokeness.
I like that. When you've got no argument, use a meme.
And to turn his video from a simple Barbie review into another installment in that war. If this is the case, the result of this scaling up is that this abstract narrative of...
By the way, I saw Ghostbusters 2016 when it came out. It was when I was in my chud phase, and I was unironically underwhelmed at how not as bad as I thought it was going to be it was. Like, it was cringy, and there were several scenes that made me cringe my eyes out, but it wasn't for any political reasons. It was just kind of like a cringy, not great movie, but the only woke thing about it was that the characters were women, from what I remember, and, like, they had an assistant who was, like, played by, I think, Chris Hemsworth, if I remember correctly, who was just kind of like a dopey, like, dude bro himbo guy, right? Like, that's the most woke you could say it gets, I suppose. Maybe there was a few one-off lines that were woke or whatever, but the right went after it really hardcore, and the entire internet to this day basically regards Ghostbusters 2016 as the worst thing to ever happen ever. But the movie wasn't even that bad. It was just another instance of the right just making up a reality for people to believe, and then people, for some reason, running with it. It was a terrible movie, but it was nowhere near as, like, demonic as these people pretend it was. Like, I forget the movie exists until these people bring it up. The fact that these people even remember the movie is what's more concerning to me.
Wokeness supersedes the specific film ostensibly under review, and the specifics of that film. To the legions of drinker viewers who are slurping the reactionary Kool-Aid, the quality of his review, the validity of his objections, all this becomes relatively unimportant, because the battle is already won. The film is already designated as woke, and woke is already bad. It doesn't matter if he lies about the film. It doesn't matter if he thinks about the film. It doesn't matter if they think about the film. Because it isn't about whether or not the men are bad, about whether or not this detail or that is explained, or whether or not we're supposed to sympathize with the mean lefty girl. The narrative matters. The shoddy criticism that makes up the rest of a video like this only needs to sound convincing, to scan once, in order to legitimize that narrative. And
for people who've never watched the thing he's criticizing, things he's criticizing, and never will. And once they've seen a critical drinker video about a thing, they'll consider that thing watched. They've got their opinion. A YouTuber gave them the opinion they're supposed to have. Mahler tried to claim that studios were bribing reviewers to make their scores higher in his introduction of his TFA review, and his only evidence was a game journalist being bribed, even though it's not proof that movie reviewers were bribed and that game journalism has less standards than movie journalism. Yeah, game journalism's been notoriously fucked. That's what the right built Gamergate on. People's legitimate concerns about gaming journalism being absolutely fucked and having been fucked for a long time. But yeah, like, they don't have any evidence or facts to back up what they say. They just lie about movies, and when you call them out on the direct lies, they'll just fall back on saying it's their opinion.
It's subsumption of the work under review. The result of this tendency writ large is a culture in which movies aren't worthwhile for their ideas, their performances, or how they're able to affect their viewers.
It's their cultural
They're
impact.
worthwhile only insofar as they can be converted into clicks and into rhetoric. And let's return to that rhetoric, shall we?
What an inspiring message.
They like movies like what was it called? The the movie Top Gun Maverick. They love Top Gun Maverick because, one, it's a super, like, chuddy, you know, masculine kind of movie, right? So you've got that. And then on top of that, the star is a famous actor who's been canceled by the left, but not by, like, the broader left and the broader population, right? Because, what's his name? The short guy? The fucking Tom Cruise is, like, a massive piece of shit. And most people on the left know about, like, the fact that he's, like, in a cult that he actively lives and becomes famous to act as an advertiser for Scientology. He most certainly knows where the missing wife of the guy who currently runs the cult of Scientology is. He's not too far off from Jared Leto, who runs, like, an unironic sex cult in an island where he gets women to come out and sleep in a giant bed with him, and he tattoos, like, a weird logo on their arms. He's not too far off from that, but, like, he's, like, super weird and not good. Tom Cruise is not good. But he hasn't been broadly canceled by, like, the left. He had been canceled by, like, the left, but not by the broader, you know, movie-consuming public, which meant the success of Top Gun Maverick was able to be claimed by the right, and they see, like, Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick as, like, one of the biggest, like, right-wing wins of the culture war. I forget what movie was going up against it, but they said, like, see, Top Gun Maverick did better than this woke movie, which means woke lost once again. Haha, left wing destroyed.
For impressionable young girls. The thing is, none of this would have been quite so insidious if the marketing hadn't done everything in its power to keep it a secret.
We're told that Warner and Mattel have tricked families into seeing their film, and that this is a problem. This is, quote, insidious, not simply misleading. The language used suggests it's not just a question of whether little Timmy and Brenda are gonna have a good time. The drinker recommends you don't bring your kids here, and that you'll thank him for that later.
It's not very often that I say this in my reviews, but if you're a parent and you're thinking about taking your kids along to see Barbie, then the drinker recommends you skip this one and do literally anything else with them. Believe me.
Yeah, he actually, like, asks and begs his audience not to watch any piece of media that he covers negatively. He says, don't watch this, whatever you do, don't watch this. Because, you know, if his audience actually watches the stuff he covers, his audience might start to realize, wait, he lied.
You'll thank me later.
The implication being that bringing them would risk interpolating those kids into this dangerous leftist mindset. The eagle-eyed, or rabbit-eared, I guess, among you might recognize how similar this sounds to that groomer narrative that's been doing the rounds over there in normal country for a while now, and to the related strands of anti-woke nay cultural Marxism theories the Drinkers podcast buddies like to bandy about.
Oh, who are these people?
Buddies like to bandy about.
Heels versus Babyface, Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, don't know who this neckbeard is, don't know who this guy is. This is another Geeks and Gamers guy. This guy's also part of Geeks and Gamers. He's another one of the hosts. I don't know this guy, I don't know this guy, I don't know this chick.
But hey, let's be generous and allow for the possibility that this similarity is accidental, that this alt-right substrate is a result of oversight on the drinker's part instead of malice or fervor. Either way, the video ends with a recommitment to Barbie as wokeness narrative fodder, and to the idea that it's succeeding because the film's advertising campaign lied. That's interesting. For a while now, as more and more people have...
Also, you'll notice Critical Drinker's main criticisms of any piece of media will just be him telling on himself. Like, unironically, roughly 70% of the Critical Drinker's criticisms of a piece of media apply 100% to his own content, and the irony is, like, actually, like, it's like having a hot coal on your chest. That's how much the irony burns.
Caught onto the reactionary grift, the Barbie question has loomed. We've known for a while that the film would be a financial success, so the difficulty it had posed to your chuds and your grifters, the get woke go broke crowd, was clear. Wokeness in this sense is an intentionally vague and malleable label, as I've discussed in previous videos, but there's really no workable formulation of it that wouldn't include the Barbie film. How, then, is that sacred
Woke is anything the right has decided has to be bad to win the culture war. That's all woke means.
mantra to be preserved? How can Barbie's runaway success be anything but an open refutation of get woke, go broke? The Drinker, knowingly or not, though I suspect knowingly, has furnished this movement with an answer. Barbie tricked the world. People were lured to see it under false pretenses. It doesn't count as a counterexample because the trailers lied. As we've seen, that isn't really true. But when has truth ever got in the way of this lot before? The Drinker's Barbie video then might be more than a loose collection of inaccurate jabs. It might be an effective employment of dishonesty, a carefully calculated, almost plausible justification for the continuation of that anti-woke grift his fans so rapidly claim he's not a part of. To be clear though, I am not stating that this is the case. It is a possibility, sure, but there is another one. And that's that the Drinker isn't pushing these narratives intentionally, isn't pursuing an inaccurate framing of the film in order to help the reactionary anti-woke grift continue, and isn't trying to couch his inaccurate review.
The only other alternative is that he is seriously brain damaged, and has arrived at conclusions so stupid that somebody who is incapable of recognizing the reality around them is the only person who could, like, reasonably reach those conclusions. He's just a liar. Like, he's not so deluded that he's interpreting these nothings out of the movie. He's just making them up.
In this sort of Mott and Bailey structure, where flaws and...
Maybe he's getting, what is that disease that alcoholics get? Where, like, their brain starts to dissolve and they start to, like, literally get alcohol-induced dementia, effectively? What's that shit called? Where it specifically starts to turn the brain spongy. It's, like, a very serious, it'll kill you. Like, if you get it, you die. Like, seriously alcoholics get it. Wait, I was joking? It's real? No, like, what I'm talking about is real. Hold on, let me look it up. Alcohol brain melting disease. Yeah, Wernicke-Korsakoff. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome is a serious brain condition that is usually, but not exclusively, associated with chronic alcohol misuse and severe alcohol use disorder. So yeah, either he has Wernicke-Korsakoff, or he's just a lying bitch. Those are the two scenarios that we're dealing with here.
And poor criticism don't matter because woke film bad anyway. The other possibility is that he's not ideologically committed to any of this, and is simply exploiting it. Exploiting an audience that doesn't care if your review's built on lies, misrepresentations, and nonsensical nitpicks, so long as it's targeting a woke product. And that he's doing this either out of laziness or because he's not a good enough critic to do his job any other way. You know, turning out formulaic thriller novels and clickable little morsels of hate is one thing, but actually engaging with art is another. So his Barbie video isn't interesting because it's full of porkies, or because it sometimes plays like he fell asleep in the theatre. It's interesting because it lays out pretty clearly the dilemma at the heart of the Critical Drinker channel. Is he just a chud on the anti-woke grift that's been able to maintain a kind of plausible deniability in the way a, say, Geeks and Gamers hasn't? Or is he just a hack, unable or unwilling to produce well-written videos who's found a strategy that requires neither? What's the answer? Well, here's mine. Does it matter? Does it change anything? Either way...
Well, both of them are bad, but at the same time, I'd like to know. I like to know the inner workings of the brains of the content creators I'm dealing with. So, like, I think that the Critical Drinker is most likely very untalented, very incompetent, and a very unimpressive person. But he also wants to make money. And he probably also holds some pretty stupid conservative opinions. And he knows that people with opinions like his about just general politics overall will spend a lot of time and money watching his content. So he just started making very unimpressive, very lazy, very, if you actually know what the video's about, easy to pick apart, grift videos that would do both the purpose of, like, feeding into the desire for conservatives to hear nothing but their own opinions regurgitated back at them, while also providing them with, like, some level of entertainment. It's no bullshit, same old grift all over again, but, as before, Critical Drinker wants the broadest audience possible. You have to be able to bring in normies and radicalize them from there. So he denies being conservative. He tries to maintain this plausible deniability, much like people like those in his sphere have not been able to. Obviously, Geeks and Gamers hasn't been able to do that. Nerdrotic hasn't been able to do that. They are very openly and very clearly far-right, and that has been, you know, what the fact that they associate is one of the best pieces of evidence that they align on those values.
A get woke, go broke Barbie exemption has been furnished. Either way, the criticism on display here is largely drivel, and either way, we're probably all better off not watching. Oh, and just for old time's sake,
they were so filled with rage and hatred and bitterness that it just had to come spewing out onto the screen.
Irony button! Irony key!
Thank you for watching.
I'm so glad, because I literally mentioned a minute ago, sorry, I'm getting a new vape out right now, and it won't come out. There we go. I literally mentioned before, like 50 to 60% of the Critical Drinker's criticisms of any piece of media, unironically, are just the perfect descriptions for his own content. And it's actually really embarrassing when he goes on those like rants about a movie being super bad, and it's just him talking about his own content and self-reporting. Impassioned. And it's like, dude, what?
If you want to help this reach a wider audience, likes, comments, and shares are all very much appreciated. If you'd like to help support me more directly, Patreon pledges of any level are
Go check that shit out.
help. And just
there will be a link down below in the pinned comment and description to Pillar of Garbage's video and channel, so go send support over there.
Because on the rare occasions I put out videos like this, I always get a bunch of comments along the lines of, wow, stop clout chasing, make your own videos, don't just drama farm big...
Oh, password time. Password time. What are we going to make the password? Fidget spinner. Include fidget spinner in your comment if you leave a critical comment to this video and you've watched this far. If fidget spinner is not in your comment and you leave a hate comment, we'll know you didn't watch the whole video. That'll be our way. That'll be our way of knowing the people who just came in to hate brigade the video and didn't even give it a shot. I always love doing that because all the hate comments don't include the password, like code word, and you know they didn't even watch like a moment of your video. It's really nice. I hope YouTube one day adds in a feature that lets you see how many minutes of a video someone's watched when they comment. That would be such a nice feature. I could like look at every hate comment and see they've watched 0.03 seconds of my video. It'd be really good. That'd be a good feature. All right. Well, guys, those are some damn good segments, I'd say. How many segments did I do today? 4? Hell yeah, we got 4 out today. Listen, I've got to get ready to go to the range, because that's what I'm doing today after stream. So today's been a damn good stream, I'd say. Not a crazy amount of donations or anything like that, but I appreciate you guys just being here, frankly. And of course, who am I going to raid? That's the big question. Vosh is live and Keffels is live, but Keffels is covering the Sasha shit. So I'll send you guys to Keffeflows. Listen, everybody, I love you all very much. You've been amazing. You've been beautiful. You've been awesome. I love you all, and as always, have a good one, okay? Let me just send you on over to this one. Does this work? Okay, this should work. Yeah. Have a good one, guys.